Real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Cause busted makes me feel good. Good morning. Hello. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's get started. We've got the boss man here. How you doing, Andre?
Greetings, everyone. I am excellent. New week, and I'm ready to go. It's been a great weekend, so yeah, this week is going to be the same.
Indeed. We got 6 producing. How you doing?
Doing very well. I'm excited about the trailer. It was a trailer.
Indeed it was, and we'll talk about that and some more stuff today. We've also got Culture Casino here. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm less excited about the trailer, and I'll tell you why.
Well, we'll find out all about that in just a few minutes. But we also have with us, bright and early, Mr. Chris Gore. How you doing?
Not that great. Whatever.
Was there a big convention yesterday with after party?
No, Pasadena Comic-Con, but I didn't even go. I watched the Detroit Lions lose to the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, yeah, that would do it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know. I just think that the NFL wants certain teams to win, especially that Baltimore game. It's shocking to me how much footage has come out of obvious penalties against Kansas City that were not called. So the NFL is maybe rigged. It may in fact be rigged. They may be favoring certain teams to be in there. I don't know if that has anything to do with Taylor Swift, but whatever. A crap weekend for that. Whatever. All right, let's talk about Ghostbuster.
You know, I hear that the NFL is rigged every year, even when Taylor Swift isn't involved. So at this point, like, I really...
But I mean, the Lions were even robbed of a game. I mean, the defeat with Dallas, it was very clear, and they could have had home field advantage, but whatever. It's look, I'm used to rooting for underdogs. I mean, my entire website, filmthreat.com, dedicated to underdogs, independent films. By the way, there's going to be a story that's going to go live during this stream later that I think you're going to want to check out on our homepage.
Oh, I'm very glad that we have you here for it, because let us know when we drop and we can go there right away and talk about it.
Yeah, I finished the story yesterday, but Alan's editing it like as we speak. It's the WGA. It's all the
That's what I figured.
And we've got screenshots. It's going to be well, I don't know. We can all laugh, I guess.
Hopefully it comes out here while you're still here. So yeah. But we also have with us Mr. Chato coming in here. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you. And yeah. So let's kick things off. We got a couple super chats here. We got Marksman 117B sending in $1.99. Says, anyone checking out Has Been Hotel or Hell of a Boss? No, I have not. Is anybody on the panel?
No, haven't had time.
I know that Has Been is quite the controversial show right now. I know of it. But no, I have not taken the time to watch it
yet. Two hell shows.
Well, this is the one that's under controversy right now because it basically paints the devil as a good guy, and God is a bad guy and all this
There
other stuff.
are some interpretations of the biblical record where that is the theological interpretation. It does exist.
I believe one of those who wrote one such interpretation was Anthony Sander LaVey. I believe he invented Satanism or something. I believe that was one of his interpretations, wasn't it?
I don't recall that one. Maybe it was the Pee Wee Herman one I read.
Maybe. Either way, that
One of the
sounds like
Jews don't have hell, so
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about it.
Don't you have Gehenna or something? Is that like the same thing?
You know what? I'm not that deeply. All I know is we don't have a hell.
Okay, yeah.
We do have like a bad restaurant that serves lousy smoked meat.
Right.
That's
I see.
our version.
Well,
of hell.
basically, the devil was too woke, so like he had to be sent to hell. It's
Yeah.
basically what I got out of the trailer.
Either way, that sounds like some extreme current year moral relativism right there.
Oh yeah, it's quite weird. But
It's
no,
freaking
I
some
get
people out.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Madam Web IMAX tickets are on sale right now.
Good
just
for
got-
them. They sold like
run,
2 of them.
Run, go get them. Well,
I also heard a rumor about Madam Web that it does not have an end credit scene. They're just desperately trying to get people out of the theater so they can get another showing in it. Definitely. So
All right.
What?
there's no end credit scene for Madam Web, I was told.
Okay, I don't know how many people would see it. Like 20?
Yeah, I know. Well, Paul was the only one rushing to get tickets. If you
I
didn't
already
notice,
got mine. I just got them.
Oh,
I heard they were in abundance. So
yeah. I thought he was headed to the bathroom. I guess I was wrong.
he only moves that fast for Madam Web, sir.
Absolutely.
I got some.
Yes.
I got some much cooler tickets this weekend than Madam Web.
Yeah, you and Chris were talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got my tickets for Dune on
Now,
February 26th.
Chris, did you also see that 10-minute preview that they were showing last week or whatever?
Yeah,
or no?
I also did see that as well. Yeah.
Yep, he did a
What did you
review
think of
it.
that?
I thought it was great. They didn't show enough. The last time they did that, they did it for Dune Part 1. They showed the first 10 minutes of the movie. They showed another scene, and then they did a montage of scenes. Then they did a behind the scenes with Hans Zimmer on the music. It was a full 30-minute presentation. Everyone got posters. Tickets were free. It was great. This time around, we saw Dune Part 1, which seeing it again on IMAX was fantastic. And then at the very end, at the end of the credits, it was just 10 minutes. 10 minutes where Denis Villeneuve, like he introduced it, and then that was it. It was just 10 minutes. So I was a little disappointed they didn't show more, but it was still really cool.
Well, cool.
So
sorry I missed your review of it, but yeah, I do know that they were showing 10 minutes with the re-release of Dune.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah. Then we got Stone Racket here, who sent us a purple kitty. Thank you so much, Stone Racket. We appreciate that. We like kitties. Then we got NZ Greg, who's been here for 27 months. Thank you for that, NZ Greg. Then we got STR Red Wolf, who sends in 5 and says, another time Midnight Edge in the morning is on time. What is the world coming to these days? Well, we got to be on time once in a while.
That's
Exactly.
right.
As I said, new week, new opportunities. Time to get serious.
It's
right.
It's the beginning of the plague.
This is the dawning of the age of... Anyway, we got Dr. Long Dongler sending in £1.99, and he's reminding you to pound that like button because he sends us a thumbs up. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Long Dongler. And then we've got Stone Racket sending in another super chat, or super sticker, sorry. It is a little Shiba dog clapping his hands. Thank you so very much for that, Stone Racket. Then we got Captain Fandom Nerd, who's been here for 31 whopping months. Thank you for that, Fandom Nerd. Captain,
I'd suggest you go home now.
Okay. Well, one thing about Dune, I don't know if it showed up on the box office or not, but let's get into the box office news. We've got a little bit here. We've got, let's see, The Beekeeper holding on to number 1 spot with a measly $7 million. This is not a very good weekend for the box office, was it?
No, this was probably one of the worst weekends ever on record. There are actually headlines that would allude to the fact that this was just terrible. But January is always terrible, to be fair.
Fuck you, it's January.
That's exactly right. In fact, that's a Chris Gore quote right there. And so the Beekeeper is sitting at 42 million gross domestic, not fantastic. It gained 7 whole theaters, but Mean Girls lost 282. Wonka is still hanging in there, which should tell you something about just how desperate the box office is right now, in third place with Migration in fourth. And you're looking at films like Migration and Wonka going, these are not the best films, but they're still hanging in there. We are going to have a whole year worth of this, I think. I'm not sure, Chris, would you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Did the Oscar nominations help things like Poor Things? Did it bump up at all? It looks like it was 10 last week, and now it's 7 this week.
But that's because it went into wider release. This
Yeah,
week,
Yeah,
I should
you
imagine.
got the nominations as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that,
890 more theaters isn't going to hurt you. Same with American Fiction, but neither of those films is really, dancing on anybody's graves.
no, but they did have a bump, so I give them credit where credit's due.
Yeah, and the only reason that anyone but you is in fifth is because, again, there's nothing to see.
Well, it looks like they wanted to see anything but that.
Yeah, well, so 71 million is nothing to shake a stick at after 5 weeks. But again, I mean, we're not seeing the
Oh,
kinds
that's
of
been out that long? I never even heard of it.
Yeah. This is supposedly a comedy. I don't know. What would you say, Chris? Is it a comedy?
Who knows?
I didn't see it.
No. I mean, look, it is a comedy, but it's also like a weird horror film.
Right.
And it's also, but like, there's stuff that's funny, but it's also uncomfortable. Like, I mean this all in a good way. It's so, I mean, I don't forget who pointed it out to me, but Poor Things is Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
The Frank Henenlotter film. I said Bride of Frankenstein meets My Fair Lady, which was not inaccurate, but not as accurate as Frankenhooker.
So, Chris, tell me what genre fan would like this movie from a genre perspective.
I don't know that. I mean, there's like really cool, weird stuff in it. I mean, he's basically Dr. Frankenstein with his experiment, which is this woman who has the brain of a baby, a child, and she's basically finding her agency as related to sex and whatnot. And
am I still the only one that has a problem with her having the brain of a child and finding her sexuality? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. I mean, I mean, that's the movie.
So
right?
it's Frank and Lolita.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like Frankenhooker, I hear it's fun. It's an adult woman kind of thing. Like this is the only reason I've been getting pause from this movie is everybody who explains it to me, they say it's good or it's interesting or it's whatever, but they kind of just overstep the whole idea that she has a baby's brain in her, right? Like that's the thing.
It's handled in a really interesting way. I mean, look, I always say you're gonna have an opinion on a movie, go see it. There's a lot of movies where I have preconceptions going in. The Marvels.
That's fair, but
I had hoped that the Marvels would have been the best movie that the MCU.
To be fair, though, Chris, I don't need to see cuties to know that that's probably not something I'm going to be into, and it's probably
well. But I've never seen Cuties. I never reviewed it. I started to watch. I thought this is not for me, and I turned it off. But it was a movie that came out of Sundance, and in that context, probably was well revered. But it's just not a movie for me. I was like, what's the? Oh, I don't want to watch this. I just didn't watch it. So, but I'll
tell you what. I'll eventually give Poor Things a shot, but
it is worth it to see Emma Stone naked.
Yeah, we do hear that is the big selling point. But anyway, so yeah, now it's expanded into wider release. Before we move on to the box office, I just want to say, yeah, it's a horrible week, nothing new. We all knew this. Man, Beekeeper is holding up pretty solid right here, and it's expanding into 7 more theaters. That's purely demand driven and nothing else.
7 is a weird addition, though.
It's not a big addition, but
no, it's weird.
For all of North America, But the normal thing is for movies to lose screens by this time. This one obviously lost some, but has gained enough others that the net is +7. This is like what I'm saying. Beekeeper is the movie to beat this year. This is this year's John Wick and Equalizer Part 3.
I don't know if I go to that extent because it still only made 42 million. And my thing is that I'm not dumping on the film. I think it's benefiting more from being released in fuck you, it's January.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Like if this had come out 2-3 weeks from now, maybe when a few other things are coming out, it would just probably been buried.
Probably, but I'm very
good for MGM and Amazon to get it out now instead of waiting. It was
exactly. Bring on Beekeeper Part 2. I'm here for it.
I like I said, I just want to point out that Poor Things is 8 weeks in the theaters to get to this $24 million. So it's not exactly.
Well, it's been an extremely limited release.
Right.
Very limited release, and it's a small movie, and part of it is black and white. It's weird. It was never a broad mainstream audience anyway. It was, I don't want to say it was Oscar bait. I think it's shocking that Emma Stone won at both the Critics' Choice Awards and the Golden Globes. She's basically teed up. I think
Pretty
that what
much.
Emma Stone's success basically pushed Margot Robbie out of the race. The Oscar nominations came out. Who do you replace of those other women who did amazing?
Well, and it's kind of an easy thing here. And this is what we were saying the other night was like, Margot, what is she doing really? Right? Even the Grace, I don't know if you saw the Grace Randolph breakdown of it where she was freaking out over her not getting the Oscar, but it's like, she goes, she was perfect for the role. And her hair and her makeup and her clothes. It's like you didn't say anything about her, though. You just said everything about how she looked and other things like the makeup and the hair department and the costume department, which I'm sure all did get nominated. But Margot Robbie didn't do anything out of the ordinary or go above and beyond in this role that requires some kind of like notoriety for it, right? Like, again, Emma Stone, on the other hand, sounds like she's probably putting a lot more into this role, regardless of whether or not it's something I would enjoy or not. That's not what I'm talking about. But there's an acting role to be had there, is what I'm saying, right? For Margot Robbie is not doing anything but showing up and looking good.
Well, and
she
that's
didn't really have to do much else.
And that's the problem with critics like Grace, is because she's only looking at the superficial. She doesn't actually look at the performance or anything beyond, that surface level. Oftentimes that's what her praises are. And while I do think that it's important for a character to look like what they are supposed to be well represented and all of that, at the same time, I need a good performance out of the actor or actress. I need a good writer to produce a good story. And I'm not certain that either of those were accomplished in Barbie. In fact, I'm certain that they weren't. And I went on record saying as much and was terribly wrong about what the box office was going to be, but that's okay. That doesn't make it a good movie.
Yeah.
So what's this new movie Fighter that just came in at $3 million and only 600 screens? It's an Hindi film. It looked, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it actually says Hindi, not just indie. So it's a Hindi.
Viva Entertainment.
Yeah, Viva Entertainment. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 662 theaters, doing pretty well. Did you see the bump for Godzilla?
Holy crap! This movie is 166 minutes long.
Well,
that is a Hindi running time right there.
I guess
that makes sense.
Bladder buster. But Godzilla -1 minus color made a huge impact, plus 276%.
I'm surprised it's only on 535 screens, actually.
That hasn't changed. It's stayed week to week, but you're looking at a gross now domestic of $55 million. This film just printed money for Toho.
I can't believe that more screens didn't open up for it, is my point.
Oh,
it's a subtitled movie.
But people are spending money on it. More people have seen it than Beekeeper at this point.
But it's a per screen issue. So,
yeah, but I'm saying I can't believe more screens didn't open up for it. Like, that's my point.
I tell you what, if you're a theater or a complex owner, right, you're thrilled with Godzilla -1 because if you put it in a limited number of theaters in your complex, you did pretty well per screen.
Yep.
That's probably some of the highest returns you're going to get for burning the lights and burning.
It did better per screen twice as better per screen than Beekeeper did.
Right.
Look at it.
Yep. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, it's like I said, that's why if you are a theater owner, you're thrilled because this thing continues to generate quite a bit of revenue per screen.
You almost need more theaters than screens, because you'll get the one theater completely full, and then two theaters will be half full. So you need more places, more conveniently located.
That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised more screens didn't open up for this being the last week of -1.
Yeah, I view screens differently from you.
I guess so.
Well, I mean, you probably are wearing your glasses. Maybe Tom isn't. I don't know.
That could be. I generally wear my glasses.
That was the low-hanging fruit joke. Sorry.
Speaking of low-hanging fruit. Oh, sorry.
Hey now.
Hey. Look at them grapes.
I don't see a super chat here. Oh, here it is. Okay. So all right, we gotta jump into this super chat now out of the box office. Whoops. Hyperguyver 2 sends in $10, says, I keep seeing way too much praise for MOTU Revolutions. I don't care if there's a scene with He-Man buried to the hilt on Tila and her screaming, "You have the power. I'm not returning to this shit show." Well, I jumped to this super chat for a specific reason. Because look, I don't know what the hell show y'all are watching. Because I watched bits and pieces of it while I was editing your review, Andre, and I really do not want to watch this show. Like all that I have seen is just that just shows me that Kevin Smith and Ted Biacelli have no understanding of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe whatsoever. And what is this crap? Okay, never mind. I'm not even going to get to that because it's kind of a spoiler. But so yeah, you wanted to get on this because it actually managed to make its way to the top 10 on Netflix, I guess.
That is exactly right. Yes, because I figured that this was a nice topic to go with the box office, because we do not yet have any actual viewing figures, hours or anything like that. Certainly, I have not found it yet. But what we do have are the rankings on Netflix. And what's interesting is that, well, let's do some history first. Because when Masters of the Universe Revelation Season 1 Part 1 came out, hype was through the roof. And that thing opened straight at the Netflix number 10. It didn't hit number 1. I don't remember how high it charted. That would depend from territory to territory. But it was in multiple occasions in the top 10, which is fairly decent for an animated series to be. And of course, people hated Revelation Season 1 Part 1, so Season 1 Part 2 never hit any top 10 at all. In fact, if you were to try to look for it on the high seats, you'd actually have a hard time finding it. I mean, it was so unpopular that even the pirates weren't interested in it. That's how bad the response for Season 1 Part 1 was. That not even pirates wanted Season 1 Part 2. Now, of course, that didn't bode well for Season 2, now did it? But interestingly, and this actually caught me a little bit by surprise, Season 2, that would be Masters of the Universe Revolution, actually did manage to crack the top 10 at Netflix again. I think it reached as high as top 7, which is much more than I would have anticipated that it would, given where it started out from. And here's the thing, it didn't go there instantly, but it came there after a couple of days, which is the opposite of what happened with the Masters of the Universe Revelation, that is Season 1 Part 1. I mean, because that opened in the top 10 right away and it dropped off really quickly. Here, the exact opposite happened. That suggests that even if I had major issues with it, Tom, you have no desire to see it. Hyperguyver obviously have no issue to see it no matter what happens. And I'm sure many others feel that way too. But it would appear that many enough returned that this is actually working out for better for Netflix than any of us thought that it would.
Maybe.
So that leaves the question, should there be a Season 3 coming for this thing?
God, I hope not.
Cultured, what say you? Just, we don't have any more metrics, but that it got to top 7. I mean, that's higher than it had any right to go.
Again, I'm surprised, but not very. And one of the biggest problems is that, we had some people that saw it and right away said, well, it's not that bad. Well, the problem is our comparison for not that bad has been the better part of 10 years, which has just been a trash-tastic set of offerings across the board, whether it be animation or live action. And so, I mean, my evaluation or analysis here is that, people are, starting to, explore the terrible entertainment that's out there for really no other reason. There's not much left to compete with it. Unless you go back in time, there's nothing really good out there. I would suggest go back and watch the old animated series. You'd be happier. Just a thought.
Yeah. Go back and check out the 2002 series. Then you'd be the happiest.
True.
Well, all I know is I see He-Man looking like this, and I have a hard time even saying the word He-Man, looking at him like that with the eyeshadow and all that business. Like, what the hell? Like, what is
this? This is supposed to be the stout design. Actually, rather
not even close. I thought it was at first from what I saw, but it ain't close at all. This is like uber gay.
As seen through the lenses of Ted Biaselli. So, yeah. Take that for what you will.
And just to remind y'all that Ted Biaselli claims that this show made him gay. So that's why I don't think this guy should be running this show.
Yeah, no, he has...
I ain't got nothing against anybody being gay, but if you're claiming that a fucking show made you gay, then you need help. Because you had some underlying problems first.
And you definitely should not be working on that show.
Exactly.
I just want to say that Beanie and Cecil made me gay.
Oh, well, then you do not... Well, that explains a lot, actually, Paul.
You just have to know. You just have to know that no, I haven't told her yet.
She does now.
But I'm married. Who has sex when they're married? So no one can tell.
That's true.
This is like a Jackie Mason routine I'm doing now.
It worked for me. I got the joke anyway. But yeah, I don't know. Has anybody else even watched this besides Andre? I don't think anybody has. Nope. So that's why I don't believe it's in the top 10 or 7 or whatever the fuck it was.
Well, so that Netflix is lying, but because they say it is. But I
didn't say it in the top 10, but I don't have Netflix, so
yeah. I will say this though, that for all the crap, if you just get rid of all the people who worked on it so far, every single one, a good season 3 can be made from this, just like Star Trek Picard. But again, that was a 1 in a million shot.
Well, on a fundamental story level, I don't like this idea of them cramming all the different backgrounds into one story either, because it's just making me butcher it. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, as far as Netflix is concerned, the number 3 show, at least here, is Griselda, which I'm talking up a lot. My review should be out today, and there's not a lot of traffic on YouTube about that, and the show's fantastic.
I think that may be the reason why, is that there's so much less to say about it when it's good. This show is fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, on its own, without much in the way of any kind of promotion. It's like the number 3 out of 10.
It's the same thing with Beekeeper. Best thing you could say, this movie is absolutely fantastic. Yep, it certainly was. It's pretty much the
kind of like with Cobra Kai or like Yellowstone. I figured out that's why nobody talked about Yellowstone until there was controversy, because it's like, yeah, it's a good show. Yep.
Yeah. Same with Better Call Saul and all of that kind of stuff. They're just amazing stuff. There's no reason, or even Tulsa King. I mean, review of Tulsa King. That was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was. I agree.
See, you know what the best part is? Yep.
Yeah. This is like the thing when people are like complaining, but you only talk about negative stuff. Why don't we? Actually, we do, but there's much shorter reviews.
Yeah, so I'm going to put out my review of Griselda today, and no one's going to watch it. But I don't care.
Had the same problem with The Offer, Paul. Nobody cared because it was good.
Also, it was on Peacock.
No, The Offer was on Paramount Plus, but close enough. Yeah.
Yeah, might as well have been on Peacock.
Yeah, exactly. Might as well have been on Peacock, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I am very much enjoying
All
it.
right.
Now, I mean, and just like the shows that you guys mentioned, all those shows, Buck, one trend or one obvious failure of streaming shows is that they think of them as one giant movie, and Disney is the worst offender in this regard.
Right.
And this first episode of Griselda actually closes off 3 storylines, so you're satisfied watching the show. You know, yes, you've got the overarching arc, and you know that's going to that's going to go along. You're going to learn about more stuff as the show progresses, but there's 3 stories that finish within the 1 hour. Great. So that was a satisfying sit down. This is one of the things that a lot of streamers don't particularly do well, is that they just hang on to a story for all sin, and then they finish it off at episode 6, and each of the individual episodes are boring. Like Witcher did that. It's just so tedious.
So this is the one that's the true story about the Colombian drug lord. Is this a spin-off of Narcos, or is this something completely different?
Some of the Narcos people are involved, but
that's what I was wondering. Okay. Well, yeah, because Narcos was great. So
this is the distaff version of Narcos.
Okay. I might check into this eventually if I get Netflix back.
Escobar look like a piker.
Yeah, Narcos was amazing.
I saw pictures of the original Griselda. She's not quite as sexy as Sofia Vergara. And I'm just telling you.
Yeah, probably not. In most cases.
Vergara. I love her in this. This is going to, I think this is going to expand her career. Not that she needs more, career expanding. She's a very successful businesswoman. What did I say? That her business empire is worth $150 million. Very smart woman. So I give her a lot of credit.
Yeah. Indeed, well, just to round out the discussion on how, or to put a pin in the He-Man discussion and how if it's good, we don't talk too much about it. I mean, even Masters of the Universe Revolution in its marketing pretended that the 2002 series didn't exist, even though it was the best He-Man cartoon ever.
Yeah, when Flash was talking about this weekend, he was like all talking it up and stuff. I'm like, yeah, a lot of those things that you just said are wrong. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, they're just wrong. I don't want to get into spoilers. I'm like, you want to know the best version of this? I said, go watch the 2000 series. You will thank me for it later. So yeah, and I say that to everybody here, basically. Just watch the 2000 series. That's the best we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
But
that's probably the best it'll ever be.
Yeah, let's grab some super chats and then we'll get into some more news we got to talk about. DS Ford's been here for 27 months. Holy crap, Paulie, thank you for that. And Corbin Dallas has now become a member. Thank you for that as well. We got Walter Tomaszewski here who sends in $1.99 and says OT. I don't know what that means for or stands for in this case, but are B&M video shops FYE viable anymore? I've seen a few around. Barnes and what's B&M?
Brick and mortar.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a good question though, Walter. Malls seem like relics, but they're still there. And FYEs are still around, but they're not as plentiful as they used to be. But I mean, do you guys on the panel here, how many of you guys actually still go shopping in standard stores?
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do when I can.
Almost never.
My problem is usually what I can't find, I always have to go online for.
Yeah, I like brick and mortar locations. It gives me a chance to be hands-on with a lot of the things I'm going to purchase. It's not like Amazon gives you that opportunity. So, if I can pick it up at like a Guitar Center or a similar music store, I'll buy it there. If I can get my hands on, something tangible, it's an easier sale. A lot of times I'm very skeptical of how things are advertised on Amazon now because so much of it is just not well represented in the materials provided online. So you oftentimes end up with something that does not represent what you thought you were buying. So
yeah, I mean, you really want to see the sex toys live. I mean, really buying them
That's
sight
true.
unseen off of eBay, just I mean, or whatever.
You don't
Yeah.
understand the girth until you actually get to
No,
hang
really,
on to
you
it.
have to feel the heft.
That's right.
you guys are
You don't
talking
want
about
any cheap toys.
Yeah, hardware and software. I get it. Well done. All right.
Sometimes both at the same time.
Oh boy.
Limpware.
Well, if you got limpware, you got a problem. You need a
I
pill
know.
for that. But yeah, no, I think they're still viable, but it'll be interesting to see in the next few years how things go with stores like Amazon.
I'll
kind of
tell you
taking over the
something. I
market
mean,
like they have.
I think malls tend to work when you've got some extreme climates. If you're in Arizona in the summertime, then the malls are actually a nice place to go, right? And in the wintertime here in Canada, the malls do very, very well.
It's true. I mean, I live in a pretty rural area, so I mean, it's kind of I'm limited on options. But if you live in a big city, I mean, you got all kinds of options right down the block usually. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. But I mean, I also do like to support local businesses when I can as well, even if it's paying an extra few bucks for something.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you.
But anyway, moving on, we've got Stone Racket here says, I'm looking forward to a member stream next weekend. I didn't know we were having one, but we might. Maybe this weekend or next weekend. Yeah, I'll have my homework done by watching Around the World in 80 Days. I think that's a hint, Andre. Andre, I don't think he stepped away. I bought my Dune 2 tickets last Friday for me and my brothers. Yeah, well, lucky you. I got to check in to see when that's starting again. If I can get tickets yet or not. Mikey's here in the house, but he's not on the panel.
Go Niners, he says.
Says go Niners. Thank God Detroit doesn't believe in kicking field goals. Love you, Chris.
It's all good.
Thank you for the $4.99, Mike. Then we got STR Red Wolf here who sends in 5 and says theaters will misjudge both animation and foreign films. When Spirited Away hit, it was sold out locally and it was never moved out. Yeah, I mean, on both fronts, I just don't understand why they didn't add another fucking 500 theaters to this Godzilla run. It was like,
I mean, it's they always make troubling decisions when it comes to films coming in from out of the country that have the potential to be massive hits. I mean, the Boy and the Heron. I mean, it was a recent example. I thought had not quite the release that it needed to have. There just seems to be a record of that. And Godzilla -1 was never allowed to properly be hyped. In fact, they did absolutely everything to knock it down in any of the trades. They just didn't want to give it the respect that it deserved. And
I think it could have done almost twice as good as it did because there's so many people I know that were like, "Oh, I want to see it, but it's nowhere near me."
Yeah, and again, I mean, is that the exhibitor's fault? Is that the distributor's fault? Is that the lack of support from trade publications, or is it all of them combined? It's a good question.
He has a second part to that.
Oh, okay. STR Red Wolf says to bigger theaters, if it's sold out all day, then move it to a theater or it will sell it again, or open up another theater. You know what? This is crazy. I can't believe they've done it because they only seem to do this for Hollywood movies. Because the funny thing I remember, because I can't remember which Marvel movie was out at the same time the Joker was. But I went into the Joker and there was I think they had 2 screens showing the Joker, and I went into the one screening, and when I come out, I shit you not, every single screening on every other showing had been switched over to Joker except for whatever the Marvel movie was.
Wow.
I'm kidding you, because they had 14 theaters, so I went in, there was 2 theaters showing Joker. When I come out, the whole entire board had switched over. It was Joker, 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 Marvel, whatever. Joker, 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 Joker. So at that point, they had moved everything out in a matter of 2 hours and decided, because they had sold out so good or whatever was going on, that they had moved everything over to Joker.
I guess, right?
Yeah. For the most part, except for certain things they are stuck with, and that's where I think Marvel was stuck there. Because I talked to a lady who owned a smaller theater, and she was bitching about how Disney is one of the worst when it comes to that stuff, because they require you to keep the movies playing for so long, whether there's people in the theater or not. And she was complaining because she only has 3 small screens in this little theater she has. It's part of this video store thing. It's kind of neat, actually. And she's like, what pisses me off is if I've got something showing like Minions or Despicable Me 4 or something like that, or 3 or whatever was out at the time, she goes, I can't move that into a bigger theater because Disney won't let me. And I'm like, you're kidding, right? And she's like, nope. And she's like, and to move any of these movies is a pain in the ass too, because you have to re-download them and it's all this shit and it takes hours and stuff. She said sometimes because of the internet there and all that stuff. And she said it's a big pain in the ass, but it's like, she's like, I'm suffering because I can't fill up a theater because nobody wants to go see the Disney movie at the time, but they wanted to see the Minions. You know, so she's like, I'm stuck. I can't do anything about it. I'm selling out them shows, but I've got a big, huge theater that I can't even sell a couple tickets for. I think it was Black Panther or whatever it was at the time.
I assume that she has some kind of contract.
Yeah, it's contractual. She can't do anything about it. That's what she was griping about. Is she's like, even though, you know.
So is there a liaison or someone that she regularly gives feedback to, saying
possibly, you know, the way she made it sound is
the way where I could fill up this theater with another movie.
Yeah, the way she made it sound was like everybody else was pretty reasonable. It was just Disney were the worst. Was kind of the way I was gathering it. Because that's what she was griping about, was Disney. And it was whatever the last Minions movie had come out, because she was all upset because she couldn't put it in the big theater. Because the other two theaters were like teeny tiny. Because she had like one main theater upstairs, and then the other two theaters were downstairs and were like really small. So it was like kind of like this duplex thing. But I was there because I was seeing Black Panther, and it was like way at the end of its run, actually. It's like nobody was in there still. So she was like, yeah, I'm contractually obligated to have it still. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, that sucks. But anyway, moving on. What else we got here? We got Vincenzo Beretta sends in 20 euros. Fancy money. Says, I like Barbie a lot. I think it is a very important movie whose importance isn't really recognized even by those praising it. For this reason, I am happy that it's nominated for the writing, and no one comments about that. Well, because to be honest with you, Vincenzo, I don't think many of us on the panel thought the writing was all that great either.
Well, I'd like to know what Vincenzo thought the importance of it was.
Well, says the importance isn't really being recognized even by those praising it. He's meaning that the writing hasn't been getting recognized. Well, they've been recognizing that speech, but I think that speech is horrible. I think the first 20 minutes of the movie are inventive and original. It's after she comes to Earth is where the movie goes off the rails. That's in my opinion, I guess, from a writing standpoint. But, you know, I mean, they managed to make a lot of money last year, so it means a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, and it means that we're getting a Magic 8-Ball movie, so that's cool.
Rubik's, told you, Rubik Cube.
I know.
I don't know if you guys remember they had a Rubik Cube cartoon back in the day. I did.
Nope.
To show the kids that, yeah. They're like, couldn't believe it. It's not the first time we've done this shit, folks. So Corbin must have upgraded or something like that, because he's actually been a member for 3 months. Thank you, Corbin, and we appreciate that. Scarebro says, listening to Tom and Chato on VR talking about AI was painful. Ron had good legal background, but everyone had shallow take on how AI is deployed, accessed for use. Also, government is 10 and courts are 20 years behind tech. See Crypt Coin. Okay. As far as like the shallow take on AI, I'm not so sure what I said was wrong. You'd have to be specific. I don't really remember getting that deep into it other than the main points, and that is that AI needs things to be learn from, right? And those things that people are using are copyrighted material, like in the case of George Carlin. So I don't know what I said was wrong. I guess you have to be more specific.
Well, I mean, the problem with that is no one knows which copyrighted material AI learned from. So that's an issue. But you know what? The only thing that I said, which I believe to be true, is you can't say this is a tribute to an individual and then use AI to either write it or perform it and say this is my intellectual property. The main point, the test I said was that would you have watched the George Carlin 1 hour fake special if it wasn't George Carlin? Would the jokes have stood on their own?
Right.
And the answer is no. So you're going to get sued for that. I mean,
and they are getting sued for that.
Yeah. So I that's really all I said, and I think
unless he's talking about where I said that artificial intelligence is more like simulated intelligence, which is also true. It's not really thinking for itself yet, necessarily. It still needs things to be taught to it, or it's just going to sit there and do nothing. It's not like it's just going to invent things to do. You know what I mean? Like, you still have to ask it to do something. It has to be prompted.
It can't invent any right now. It doesn't invent anything that hasn't been already invented.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Within the, whatever has been done before. It doesn't mean it can't recombine things into, a logical story. I asked ChatGPT to create a scene with Bilbo and Gollum where they were friends, and it was intriguing. The ending of it was that Gollum said, "First give me my ring and then I'll be your friend." I went, wow, that's an interesting jump in logic, and it was logically sustainable, but it wasn't new per se, but it was logical.
Okay, now this is what Noah is saying. Tom is wrong about AI because neutral networks are transformed by nature. Okay, it's not cut.
Neural.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's cut and paste like radio sampling. Yeah, but radio sampling isn't even cut and paste anymore. It hasn't been for 30, 40 years. That was my point. You can use computer programs to manipulate sounds now. Just because it didn't sound exactly like the original recording did, it doesn't mean it still wasn't sampled from the original recording. You still have to have that original recording to make that sample from. It still all goes back to the same place. It can't just create something out of nothing. That's the point.
Well, I think the best description, and I'll say it again because it bears repeating, is essentially the AI is
what is it? It does not create. It's recombining something is not creating something.
Well, it's also no better than on your phone your predictive text. That's it. It's just a more advanced version of predictive text. I tell people all the time, whether you have Android, Apple, both, because I end up having to use both on my phones, but you're only getting what the thing thinks that you want from a description that you give it. So like you start to type a word, you're giving this predictive algorithm an idea of what you want to type. The same thing is with any prompt you give to AI. You give that prompt to AI, it's only regurgitating the information that you asked for based on a lot of predictive stuff. So how does it do that? Well, it goes out to this large language library of media that it's been dumped into it, and it just kind of recombines things, as Tom is suggesting. So when you go to it to have it create something original, it's really, could be argued, it's not original at all. One of the things that the Times pointed out in its lawsuit against OpenAI is the fact that they literally were able to have the prompt spit out exactly word for word or verbatim, whichever you would prefer, what was said in a given article. The same thing is going to happen, in scripts and in everything else, which is why this Carlin thing is kind of interesting to me. But I'm going to reserve judgment until we see more. So, but that's all we're dealing with here. Is it's not really AI. It's simulated intelligence.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Is it can't exist, can't do anything without having the original works to work off of, basically. So yeah. Anyway, moving on from there, we've got Umret, if I'm saying that right, who sends in 5. That's Belgian something or other, isn't it? Bulgarian.
Bulgarian Florint.
Yeah, Bulgarian.
This is really obvious, and everyone should be able to guess it. But it is Bulgarian Florint.
Well, thank you very much. I couldn't, even though I've seen it before.
But yes, thank you very much. We do appreciate it.
I'd like to weigh in on that simulated intelligence.
Please.
Oh, sure. I think it's a very fancy randomizer. If you think about it, if you've ever played a video game where you need to design a character And I mean, the level of detail, like eyebrows and eyelashes and, you know, size of a nose and like girth of a nose. And like, it just, there's so many choices. I personally, when I see that, get so frustrated. I just click random until I find one I like, and then I just go. And I think that what I've observed with the little that of my little experience with AI that I've already had, it's just a randomizer. You know, I would point to scientist Seth Brundle, who said computers are stupid. They only know what you tell them.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Seth Brundle, right?
Yep. From The Fly.
Well, you knew it, Tom. I knew you knew it. I was hoping to trick someone into
Oh, sorry.
thinking that's a real scientist. But I know you would know. Anyways, he was computers are stupid. They only know what you tell them. So you feed something into a randomizer, George Carlin's career, and then randomize jokes that are in the style of you know, George Carlin. I think that it's stupid. It's, you know, so there you go. It's a very fancy randomizer.
I don't think you're far off. And the funny thing, I think it's going to come out during this case with Carlin, is I think we're going to find out that the jokes were not written by AI. I think we're going to find out that those guys that own the channel wrote the jokes and they just used a simulated AI to do the voice. Is what we'll find out.
No, that's what I said.
Guess.
No,
Paul and I were on the same page with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious where it goes because this won't be the last lawsuit about AI, and there do need to be some, you know, some guardrails about its use, I believe. Having said that, I am excited. You know, we did a thing last Friday on Film Threat about Wes Anderson's Dune. Have you seen that trailer?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. It's actually
great.
It's really good. The people who did it, they obviously got the artwork to the way they wanted it, but I believe they had to write something, right? There's a cleverness to it that's in the style. I think it's called Dune Rise Kingdom, but it's very funny. It's very clever, and I've become obsessed. I have a whole playlist of about 50 or 60 and I keep adding them to this playlist of AI generated movie trailers, and they're not
the silent movie Star Wars.
Yeah,
I would watch.
Yeah, like I would really watch that. I think you know, no use of AI is stupid, but a way of using it, I think it opens up some opportunities. I just think, again, it's a tool like Photoshop, right? Photoshop, you can do so much with Photoshop. You can do special effects with Photoshop. You can do designs. I mean, Photoshop is pretty incredible tool, right? But it didn't put artists out of business, you know? I mean, so I think that the same thing with AI. I think you need someone trained to be able to use it to generate something that's even worth seeing. And that was true with the Dune Rise Kingdom trailer.
Well, to me, the AI, those little clips, those fun flights of fancy, just demonstrates how the people, especially in the movie business, are just so uncreative about their IPs. Television, not so bad. I mean, if you take a look at Batman, for example, the animated Batman has got all sorts of different variations. There's even a Japanese anime version of Batman. There's an anime 3D version of Batman. So they're not afraid to try different looks and different genres. But in movies, they're definitely afraid to change things up. The Wes Anderson thing was fantastic. I would watch that. Why wouldn't you have fun with that? Well, it's as if there's no more creativity. Everyone is like so constipated and so incapable of expanding their horizon with their own IPs. There's just no fun. People have forgotten how to have fun with this stuff.
Well, again, and that's because of their limited life experiences and the fact that they were not educated, they were indoctrinated. I mean, we can get back to those things. Well, I mean, the biggest problem now is, and this is the thing that is lost whenever you decide to discourage or discount merit. You lose that life experience. Paul, you've had extensive life experience. I mean, you've made epic blunders and fails, and so have I.
Including this.
Right, which is the whole point, right? Every single one of those experiences has informed the way I approach things, and it has allowed me to laugh at myself in a way that I can talk about things from a point of view that maybe others who've never experienced a failure because of their helicopter parents have ever been affected.
Well, and I there was a few people in the chat who were going off about the neural network thing, and I looked up just real quick a little bit about it here. And basically, I'm still seeing it's a simulation of neural networks in the brain. It's still a simulation, and you still have to train it. So I still don't understand what people are freaking out about what us not understanding it, right? Yes, I get it. You still have to learn by being trained yourself. But guess what? A person can do that a computer can't. Think of something on the fly that has never been taught before. Because people can think logically outside of the box, unlike a machine can only access things that it's been taught.
Sure.
Right?
And I guarantee you, no AI in its present form would ever come up with Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
No
At
way.
least, and here we go. STR Red Wolf brings it for $5. The George Carlin AI folks already admitted that they wrote the scripted jokes
I
for
could tell.
ARS technical article published yesterday. I didn't even see this. See, and I'm
no,
not
but I
surprised
could tell from the writing that they wrote it.
Yeah,
and,
this is what we speculated right away.
It. Pardon me?
Well, yeah, that's what we all speculated right away, that wasn't AI written, that was human written and AI filmed the execution.
Right, and for no other reason than if they were trying not to get slapped down, the fastest way to get slapped down would have been to have the AI write the material. That's their only hope of moving forward on this suit.
Well, and
the thing is, oh, go ahead, Culture.
No, it's just if you've ever read some of the stuff that gets burped out of an AI when you prompt it, it's like
that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah,
this can't possibly be presented to anyone. It'll be laughed at because it's like a sixth grader that is regurgitating information they picked up from their classmates in no logical order or
it's almost as good as a Dan Brown novel.
Well, and I tested it, and you're kind of right, Chris, about the randomizer thing, because not only that, I could tell it was clearly pulling things from the internet and other places, because I started feeding an AI the first act of a movie, right? And 9 times out of 10, it would just finish out the movie the way that the movie ends naturally. And unless I would forget some important detail, and if I would forget that important detail, that's when it would go on some randomness. And there was times where it even like kill characters and bring characters back in the middle of the story and shit like that. So clearly AI does not understand certain things still to this day.
That's because you didn't throw in nude pictures of Taylor Swift.
Yes, I know.
By the way, I love that we can naturally get Twitter to suppress Taylor Swift on the platform by just searching for Taylor Swift. So I encourage everybody, just keep searching for Taylor Swift. They'll keep blocking her references forever. Thank you.
And I like this. You're technically correct, Tom. The best type of correct. That's usually about close as I can get. Technically correct. But before we lose any more of our panel members, I just want to get this read because we never actually read it.
6.
Thank you so much, 6, for saving that. Because
weird.
That's right. Thank you so much. And then we've got let's grab at least one more here because this is about MOTU, and then we'll move on to our next story before we lose any more panelists. Dale sends in $20, says, I hated MOTU Revelations as much as Last Jedi, I think he means. Season 2 was actually not bad, not great, but not bad. Worst parts were reference to season 1. 93-year-old William Shatner is not a voice actor, and he killed it as Keldor. He was so good. And what I don't understand about Keldor is why they just didn't have Mark Hamill do both voices. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Even if William Shatner is not known as a voice actor, there's not a single thing he's done that I don't think he's killed.
No. But here's my point. They're the same character, technically, Paul. So, like, why wouldn't you just have... Why are you having somebody else come in and do the quote-unquote humanoid version?
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to argue. I'm not arguing that.
And then having George Hamill, Jesus Christ, Mark Hamill do the...
George Hamilton would be good.
I can tell you why. Yeah. Having seen it, I can tell you exactly why they did.
I watched some of the scenes. It doesn't make any sense to me, but
because they know that fans who know the lore know that Keldor is Skeletor. So they were trying to throw you off the trail. It was a red herring to have someone else come and voice Keldor, because then you're like, what? This is supposed to be the same person, but here they're different. What's going on? So they went with the but we're going with the mini-comics, wherein Skeletor was always a demon from another dimension. And then, surprise, surprise, Skeletor only thought he was a demon from another dimension because he had been brainwashed by Hordak. Whereas
This is some 5th grade level fucking writing. I'm sorry.
Spoilers. Yeah, they did watch it.
5th grade fucking. This is some of the worst shit in the world. It's just.
Yeah, well, I didn't
dumb.
actually praise the writing in my review, did I?
Yeah.
But that's their motivation. That's why they went with another voice actor for this Keldor than for Skeletor, even though they are one and the same. And if there is a season 3, then William Shatner better not die, because it ends with him in his Keldor form,
which bothers me as well.
Yeah, you'd hope that would be irreversible when he was changed into Skeletor, but
kind of.
Yeah,
that was kind of the point.
Yeah, but no, it was very reversible. It was totally reversible. So he's Keldor now.
I don't even think he'd want to be Keldor anymore because he had more power as Skeletor. But anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
Man, stop talking about children's toys. Move on.
Andre, we'll save that for another show. Searchy87 sends in 2 and says, I don't trust Ryan Coogler directing a Lando movie. Are they still talking about that? Is that a thing still?
Well, I mean, the Rian Johnson trilogy is still a thing, isn't it? That they're still talking about.
Well, it wasn't mentioned in that one press release.
Yeah,
I just wondered if there's more news about it.
I don't think there's anything more to it than that.
The latest I heard from regarding Ryan Coogler was that he's doing a vampire movie.
There
that was
go.
just
So
in
he's
the last
busy.
week or so. Yeah, with Michael B. Jordan.
Good, and he's busy too. That means no Superman.
Ha. All I know is that Kugel is a German dessert, so
Kugel?
I can't really separate his last name from a German dessert.
Lieberwolf. I've never had it. I'll have to try it now. Lieberwolf has been here for 8 months. Thank you for that, Lieberwolf. And with that, I'm going to take a moment to pause things. Let's grab a couple of these AI ones. Why not, real quick, just to get them out of the way. SGR Red Wolf says, I'd rather have AI look like my profile, 100% synthetic person that's been taught properly. Well, there you go. Sure. Luca Biasco, I think is how you say it. Sorry if I screwed that up, Lucas or Luca. Sorry. Sends in 5 and says AI makes things you need. Human intelligence makes things you didn't know you needed. Yes. DCB Titan has one for Chris here with Canadian 5 and says, Chris, everything you just said about AI replace computers with children.
Yeah.
Dogs.
You're not wrong about that. Yeah. And then let's pause right there wait, we've got one more AI one here from Scarebro. Because AI services only block keywords for liability PR. They release the tech to the public and sell user training compute services. People can rent, compute, and run AI uncensored. FOSS is also a thing. Anonymously, memory can't be stopped. Memory. Yeah, and this is one thing we did mention, Scarebro, is that nobody's going to be affected as outside of the commercial AI companies. Like, it's not going to stop people from doing shit in their basements, right? I mean, it's still going to happen, but that doesn't mean that she's not going to make a fuss about it, and that doesn't mean that somebody in Congress ain't going to listen.
Well, also the PR that we see, I mean, the AI that we see is just kind of a fun little toy. It's being used by corporations. Right. That's where the money and everything is happening. And I guarantee you that, Procter and Gamble are not spending their time doing nude Taylor Swift drawings. I'm like, it's just us, the general public, that are idiots.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's put a pin in the super chats for right now. And let's get to this dropping story from the
frankly, I'd
gang
rather have
over at Film
nude AI pictures of Sofia Vergara than Taylor Swift, frankly.
We got male is pale and stale.
No, male and pale is stale. So
well, still pale and stale is bad.
Yeah,
Tom an open letter to the WGA. This isn't a really small. Here, let me try.
Yeah, you're clearly not signed up for the Film Threat newsletter thing.
I don't sign up for anything to bob at me.
Ads. Tom,
look
you
at
got
all
to
those
use ad blocker when you look at film.
Yeah, look at all these ads. This site is just polluted with.
Before,
oh man,
oh my God, it's annoying.
Gee.
Anyway.
All right,
No, I'm signed up and I let the ads through. You got to make money.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it.
I just gave you the ads for a minute there.
It's funny. I don't block my friends' ads. So
I just did it for the ease of the audience to be able to see this. But so here we go. The latest version of the latest part in the expose that you and Alan have been working so feverishly on over there at Film Threat.
Well, there's two that are going on right now. One is the D files.
D file.
Is
about so this is a different one.
This is there's two stories. So the D files is a story that Alan is doing, and the third part of it comes out next week. It'll be next Wednesday, so a week from Wednesday. This is follow up to the open letter to the WGA from a WGA writer. So there was an open letter. The story is linked in there actually, and a guy from the WGA said this union is a mess. It's been going downhill the last decade. Since 2019, it's been a death spiral, and the industry is now bearing the fruits of actions taken by the WGA. So this person wrote a open letter. I think you may have covered it. This is the response to that. These are letters that were sent to Film Threat from WGA writers, some WGA writers and people from other guilds in Hollywood. And what it talked about is how DEI has affected every level, including things like storyboard artists, production designers, editors. It's also infected the music industry and publishing. It is like, this is basically, it's a cancer on the arts is what this is. And the phrase male and pale is stale is something that people who work in development and film and TV, they often say. So if you're a white writer, one, they're just not willing to hire you. That's one. And number two, stories are, the storytelling has changed. Now, so what we did is a lot of these writers reached out to us anonymously and wanted to tell their stories. They want to say, hey, I've been working in the industry. I'm seeing some changes that aren't positive. And so the following, I mean, it's pretty long, but it's gotten down to where people in the industry are being bullied to, one, go along with the DEI training. And in one of the guilds, they call it JEDI training. I'm not making this up. There's screenshots on pages when you get deeper into this story. We have screenshots of that. Under the JEDI training. They kind of like mix up the DEI words. Anyways.
Yep.
And then also if you're a new member who applies to the WGA, you have to fill out a demographic survey talking about your identity. And you guys saw that. That was from the story.
Yeah, we showed that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was from.
We also covered it on a separate video covering your previous story.
So that was from a WGA writer who took those screenshots. So what they're doing is, if you're a new member and applying, you have to fill it out. If you're an old member, you are encouraged to fill that out. And they say it's not required to fill it out. You're not required to fill it out. But one of the guys was telling me that he was badgered constantly, getting emails. He saved all the emails because it was so incessant, being badgered to fill out this form. They want to know the demographic breakdown of their guilds. And this is all for DEI stuff. So if you get deeper into the story, I wrote a little intro to kind of put things in context. And then each page is like one or two of these emails that we received. And they've been edited to, for privacy reasons for the people who sent it to us. But it's long, but it's an interesting read. And when you get to the part in the screenshots about midway, you'll see the little graphic they made for the Jedi training. It's pretty weird. But this is how they're pushing all this stuff. So I don't know if you want to read it right now or read parts of it. There's pull quotes.
Take us through let's find the pull quotes and go through the highlights of what is said here.
Yeah. I would flip through and look at the highlights and definitely look at those screenshots, which I think is on a page that's deeper in the story. We had to break it. I mean, we had to break it up into parts, right? Like,
yeah.
So, yeah.
Indeed. Let's see.
I can tell you're scanning it right now.
Yeah, that I am indeed. Let's see here, because here you write, I have a few stories that illustrate the hostility to non-diverse, that's code for white, writers that may be of interest. Number one, writers hired on comic book shows are told it's a positive that they are unfamiliar with the original comic book and not a fan of the existing IP, because they want to do a modern new take on the material relevant to today. 2, writers are asked why this story today? How is it relevant politically today to the existing narrative they're publishing on our culture? And why are you the person to tell it? Because I have talent and wrote it is not a valid answer. What the valid answer is, because I'm a member of this abbreviated group or class and only we can tell our own story. So that's the correct answer right there. And 3, this leads to a heads we win, tails you lose game, where if you don't include diverse characters, you're dinged for having an all-white / non-diverse cast, regardless of the time or place of the story or historical accuracy. See, this is how you get the Woman King. And if you do have a diverse cast, then you are guilty of cultural appropriation. This means that unless you are, for example, African American, you are not allowed to tell a story about an African American character, or disabled, or LGBTQIAP plus minus divided by sign. Unless you are that specific subgroup, you can't write it. There's a bias toward the 2-fer or 3-fer hire. Being gay, for example, isn't enough now. Yeah, Tom has been harping on this for years now. You have to be gay and African American or Latinx or undocumented, unhoused, or differently abled. Then on the DEI scorecard, they'd have a 2 or 3 times multiple score for the hire. To give you an idea of how competitive things are, for only murderers in the building, there was a word a staff position was available. This is the lowest rung writing position. They received 450 scripts as writing samples for this one job. A manager told me these jobs would typically go to a BIPOC writer, but the show decided not to hire anyone or to go in another direction. And finally, the WGA has a diversity program where the guild pays for the diversity hire's salary. Most of the writers aren't picked up after the free ride expires. Many of these writers, hired only for diversity purposes, feel obligated to push stories that reflect the specific box they checked. So a transgender writer will be pitching stories exclusively about that experience. And then there's a quote that's highlighted here. Folks are on eggshells for fear of offending DEI standards, which are forever shifting. So yeah, I think this was a really, really good write-up here. That was just a summary. I'll do a video on the whole thing, and everyone should, of course, go check it out. But basically, here we have everything from you are not, you shouldn't be a fan of the material that you adapt because it has to be modern day, and you better not be a right person or talented because they do not want that in the name of DEI. And of course, this, to me, perfectly illustrates what DEI is, not in theory perhaps, but in practice. It assures that the most qualified are excluded from the running.
Yeah, you should show the page with the JEDI training, which is just a weird way to kind of trick people into like, you have to go to this. They say everything is voluntary, but it's looked down upon if you don't participate, if that means anything. And this is constantly being pushed. So yeah.
So where is it here? Do you have it handy, Andre?
Not yet. No, I'm on the same page as you, but give me a second. I'll see if I can find it here. Since again, it's the first time we see it, and we are on different pages. I just have to deal with the cookies, which I have found the way to bypass here. So SSD and I is being weaponized, and that's not on that page.
I think Alan is still like he's fixing typos on it because I said, let's get it out now. Like let's not wait.
So, here we go. Here, I have it. I have it right here. So, yeah, okay.
We'll have to probably zoom in.
Yeah. I'm just gonna share it here on screen. Which of course I take a couple of seconds on doing.
This appeared in a newsletter to one of the guilds, and
here we go. And because what we're seeing right here is not too big to see clearly, but basically this is a flyer that says JEDI Training, and JEDI, of course, is an acronym for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Trainings. And then it says here, remember to put one of our upcoming JEDI trainings into your schedule. We encourage every ADG 800 member. Chris, what's an ADG 800 member?
It's one of the guilds.
To take advantage of the training, which will be conducted through our partnership with Elevate Inclusion. Okay, so they work with one of these commie organizations, which is no doubt.
I'm trying to remember where we heard of this before. Was it during
the guild is the Art Directors Guild, but Art Directors is broad in the sense that it includes, production designers, storyboard artists. It's the Art Directors Guild, so anything involving that on a film or TV set.
Well, I'm trying to remember where we heard this JEDI thing for the diversity, equity, and inclusion thing.
It was on FNT.
Well, no, it was like part of, was it
else?
I was going to say, wasn't it part of like Reimagine Tomorrow or something like that? Where they mentioned it?
Yeah, that would have been something specifically to Disney, where they also had something about.
I was going to say, because I'm trying to remember, because I know this is not new. We've heard this before.
We have.
It wasn't not a joke. It was serious, like a thing. Yeah, I think it was Reimagine Tomorrow.
I remember it too. That we have, and also there was like this Star Wars writer, but again, he was also working under the EI requirements, which basically were so that he made. In some book or something, he made Han Solo say something along the lines of like real heroes respect pronouns or something to that effect. So yeah, they have that.
I was just saying because it's adding even more credence to this shit, which is just redonkulous. But yeah.
But Six put another article in the private chat right now, which goes hand in hand with this right here.
Oh, let's see it.
Because it would appear that the guild thought themselves really clever and smart for coming up with the JEDI acronym and thought this was really fantastic.
Yeah, and this is back in 2021. So yeah, this would be about that same time. Yep.
Indeed, because Scientific American, they posted an article 2 years ago, which says why the term JEDI is problematic for describing programs that promote justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. With the subheading, they're meant to be heroes within the Star Wars universe, but the Jedi are inappropriate symbols for justice work. So yeah, this article, it also appears to be one we're going to have problems with because, and I don't like that they talk about justice when they should be talking about social justice, because those are two very different things. The moment you hedge or put a modifier to justice, it's no longer justice. And here it says,
Yeah.
the acronym JEDI has become a popular term for branding academic committees and labeling STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine, initiatives focused on social justice issues, meaning they have nothing to do with STEM. If anything, they're anti-STEM if they're social justice. Used in this context, JEDI stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. In recent years, this acronym has been employed by a growing number of prominent institutions and organizations, including the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. Okay, Writers Guild, you need to do freaking better because you didn't even come up with that shit on your own. No wonder we heard it before. At first glance, JEDI may simply appear to be an elegant way to explicitly build justice into the more common formula of DEI, productively shifting our ethical focus in the process. JEDI has important affordances, but blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they find it problematic and you shouldn't do it. I believe that this is because probably the Jedi in Star Wars are too white, I should imagine, or something to that, or something equally stupid. I mean, it's Scientific American. There was a time when they used to be scientific, but recently they have been bigger followers of the science than actual science. So, yeah.
Weird.
Indeed. So,
Well,
Chris, I'd like to thank you for
Weird.
bringing this article to light. And
absolutely.
before we move on, culture unfortunately has to be leaving us. So I have to ask you, do
So
you have
your
any thoughts
feelings
on this?
on this?
Yeah.
Well, my thoughts are I'm just not surprised anymore. It doesn't matter what guild it is, that they've all been under the threat and hammer and sickle of what this all represents, and it's been going on forever in all aspects of entertainment, but it's even broader. It's in every element of the corporate world and so on and so forth, and it's largely led to the demise of many things and is now driving the layoffs and the mass reductions in content that we're going to be seeing in the future. So don't let anybody mislead you into thinking that the strikes were the major component here. It's the fact that the consumption of the entertainment and the funding of the entertainment has now dwindled away, and you are now going to see a significant portion of the people putting all of this together no longer working in the industry. So well done. On that note, I'm out of here. Thank you for having me today. I hope everybody does take time to read the article over there on Film Thread, and do check out similar things on everybody's channels. Thanks for having me. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, Culture.
Thanks for joining us.
Who wants to work under those kinds of conditions if you're a creative person?
Right.
People who have no fucking talent, Paul. That's exactly who.
As we talked about with regards to the checkbox stuff, that's really useful for low talent individuals.
Exactly. That's my point.
Not useful for talented people. And I'd rather just sit here in my temple of doom here and write screenplays and sitcoms, which I continue to do, some with Script Doctor, have a great old time, and see what we can do with it. I mean, to me, that's my preferred method. I feel sorry for, some, the individuals that are, having to write this stuff. I even look at Saturday Night Live and the mammoth expansion of cast members. I think they purposely expanded their cast members so the opening credits will go so far into the show that it'll be a much smaller show, and then the writing crew is just enormous.
No, you're 100% right, Paul. And that's exactly it. People who are taking advantage of it are people who have no talent, but they're using whatever it is between their legs or on the color of their skin to get through the door. And as we're learning here over the past few years, they have no talent, and people are not going to keep going to these crappy movies and watch these crappy TV shows, regardless of who they're representing or what their case is as far as having all these other hires. And it's not just entertainment, though. That's the part that's scary for everybody. We're learning that
there's
all these other things in the last few weeks.
There is a group of people who are bound and determined to keep this going in hopes of finding an audience, or an audience finally catching up with them. I'm determined. I'm absolutely certain that that's going on. You watch the number of people who are graduating from universities and colleges who I'm calling takers. We one of the problems in our society is that there's only, and I talked about this before in a video, that the people who are paying for all of this are what I call makers. And the size of the maker community is diminishing. We've always had a support group that supported the makers. Education at one point actually developed useful individuals that could then be transferred over to the makers to help them build their businesses. Now they're not graduating anybody of use. We've got feminist glaciation graduates from Ober, whatever the frickin' university, that Oberlin, and who's going to hire them? And even in Hollywood, which in of itself is a weird taker group, because do we really need block your ears, everybody? Do we really need entertainment? No, it's
Chris
not a requirement.
Right. They make shit that we don't need.
It isn't required to live. However, humans like being entertained. And I would say to you, and no one's going to disagree with this premise, that there's an awful lot of amazing makers that have developed within the context of this taker industry. The camera people, the technical stuff that is going on that's required to make a movie or a TV show is actually interesting and staggeringly useful within that context. So entertainment is a weird taker-maker business, which I'm also going to be talking about in an upcoming video. But the graduates out there are not contributing to any of the makers. And as the maker business diminishes, as industries are being shipped off to China and other places, who's going to pay for this? At some point, you've only got one group of people paying for all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, you're 100% correct, Paul. And this is where we're at right now. These people are acting like there was all these people that were left outside the gate, right? And all these people that were left outside the gate were left outside the gate because of the color of their skin, a disability, or whatever was between their legs. That's the notion they're trying to sell to all of us.
Well, at one point it was. I mean, let's
to a point you may be right, but here's my argument:
there's always been prejudice in terms
cream has always risen to the top, right? The cream
right.
of the crop has always risen to the top, and especially when it comes to entertainment and sports. And that's what bothers me about this whole thing. And we were just talking about this the other day. Chris and I were about that whole thing too, where it's like, when did this start? Why did they start to think this way? Because sports and entertainment have been the only place where the doors have been wide open for years. Like maybe it may be this way in corporate America, maybe in STEM research, but even there, I doubt it, because I've seen most scientists are nerds. So I've never seen any, discrimination in the science community ever. Like, I don't understand this.
They were hugely discriminated against women.
Women, yes. Huge. Okay, I agree with you there. You're right. You're right, Paul. I retract.
Major discrimination.
But there's a lot of Black people and Hispanic people and Asian people in the scientific community for years, was my point. And you even had Stephen Hawking, who was disabled, right? So, like, again, I'm just saying it.
Yeah, but he was a white man.
That's true.
If it had been a Black woman in that wheelchair, never would have happened.
You're probably right, Six.
Unless the wheelchair levitated. But so the thing is, there's always been the friends rule. People are more comfortable hiring and working with the kids that the people that they went to school with, which is one of the things I tell people: don't go to school for the learning part, go to the school to get connections part. So you've heard me say that. Don't go to some college in Wyoming. That's why you go to New York, and that's why you go to LA to make connections. So where was I going with this? So the point is, and here's an example. We were up for a major job in the UK for a very good website business, and we were the most qualified group in the final list of candidates, and we lost it. We came in second place. Do you know why? You know what happened? I talked with the guy who made the decision, and he said, "Oh yes, you had the best proposal, but I couldn't not give it to Chauncey because he was his best friend in whatever Eton or whatever the stupid university was in the UK. He just couldn't bear to not give it to Chauncey." So there's always been an old pals network
Well, yeah,
in
that's
business
typical.
and in Hollywood, especially in Hollywood, that you're never going to get rid of.
Well, no, the
So-
old saying was it's always who you know, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. But I guarantee you that if you went to some kind of film school in LA and there were a variety of people from different backgrounds, I guarantee you that you would not be excluding them. They would be your friends. You would be hiring them because that's who your chums were. They were the ones who helped you with your assignment. I keep doing that.
Exactly. That's a key difference right there, because what do you call this guy that he couldn't give it to, that he could not give it to? What was this guy's name again?
Chauncey.
Well, I'm sure that Chauncey, even if he wasn't as qualified as you
he
guys,
was terrible. It was horrible.
He may have. Was he good enough, or was he
no,
horrible?
not even barely good enough.
Oh, yeah. Well, then we're talking exact same thing here, because basically that is what DEI gets you: someone who isn't good enough.
Which takes me
full circle back. Well, that's a horrible thing. If they should happen to be good enough, then from the outside, no one knows that they're good enough, or that they're just a diversity hire.
And that takes me full circle back to my original point, which was all these people that were acting that were being left outside were not because of their color of their skin or what was between their legs or any of these other things. It's because they weren't fucking good enough. That's why. And now that they know that they have an in, because I've talked to people where they flat out have said they're exploiting this shit, right? They're using this right now.
Yeah, and not only that, like I like to hire friends, but I generally don't. What ends up happening is I hire people that are best for the job, and then I become friends. I wasn't friends with Alan when we first started working together. I mean, I wasn't. I'm being honest. He may even be listening right now. You never know. We became friends later, as we, I don't know, just worked together, and I learned.
Same thing with Andre and I, yeah.
Sort of an organic, natural thing. I almost always become friends with people I work with, but that's over time, and I think that's organic and natural and whatever. I really love working with Alan. I mean, like, the more I learned about him, it's just like, oh, he's a cool freaking dude, and we don't agree on stuff, and that's also part of why I like working with him. But I think hiring people, there's that kind of works one time. If they do a shitty job, I'm probably tougher on a friend than I would be on someone else. Like, I hired a friend of mine that I've known for years as a cameraman on a project. We did not gel. And I said, look, in the interest of our friendship, we can't work together. We just can't. So you find out you only can get that, so quote, connections that works once. You better be good at what you're doing. You better be really good.
I'm glad you said that, Chris, because we do talk about nepotism and certain other things a lot when it comes to Hollywood, because it is full of it. But you're right. You still have to have some monochrome of, talent to get past that door, right? Like,
right. It can open a door, but it can't make a career. I mean, there are plenty of people who, have advantages like that, but then you got to perform. I do think that's where the merit lies. And then there's certain people, in writers' rooms. So I wish Script was here because he could speak to some of this stuff. But in a writer room, that's like they contribute a certain thing. They've got, once you read these letters, and a lot of them are long, it's unfortunate I had to cut so many things out that could have identified some of these people. These are people that worked on big shows. These are people that worked on Emmy-nominated TV shows. Okay, so this is not just random people. These people were sending us their resumes on IMDb. They told very specific stories, which I could not run.
Right.
But, every single one that I interacted with said, we're going to do this anonymous. I appreciate you verifying your identity. However, the only way this stuff changes, the only way anything like this changes, is if people speak out on the record.
Yep.
If there are a number, now anyone that's actually addressed in the story, a couple of the people mentioned, like, if you speak out, you are ostracized. You are bullied for having the opinion you have that this may not be the best approach, right? So, and this whole thing that came out where it's just like the WGA is actually paying for these writers to be on staff, and like when that free ride ends, they just fire the writer. And the problem is you don't develop that consistency. So you're getting kind of this group of people that just don't even know how it works. That's why I believe in order to really be in that writer's room in a meaningful way, you got to be around the industry for 10 years, a decade. Then you've gotten notes. You maybe made friends with one of the writers in the room. Will take a look at your script. It's like, you've been on enough shows to see how it works. How in the course of 10 weeks, a writing staff can write all the episodes for a show and then be available while it's in production. Like it's not like a thing you can learn overnight. I do think mentoring is a very positive thing. But you got to mentor. You can't just point to a person because of what they look like and say, okay, now it's your job now. Like it diminishes exactly what the job is. So, and we've seen it in small ways, like affect the industry in small and big ways. I mean, look, there's a reason the term flopbuster was invented.
Right.
So, I think this story will continue.
Oh yeah. I want to jump onto something there that you mentioned, though, Chris, because Script has mentioned this before. And what you were talking about when you said the DEI free hire, what you're talking about is basically, my understanding from what Script explained was they had this deal where if you hired a specific writer that would hit one of these DEI points, they would actually give you money through the guild to have that writer on staff, basically. So that's what you were talking about, basically. I just wanted so people knew what you were referring to.
So it's a program that the WGA has where they basically supplement. They pay for the writer in the writer room that is a diversity hire. There's no other way to put it, right? But like when the person said the thing about the twofer or the threefer, it's like not enough to have like one identity check mark. You have to have multiple, right? And it's just a weird way to go about hiring people that puts the focus on the wrong thing. The focus should be on talent, developing talent, and getting people in the room who can do the work, who can make a show that's going to, get accolades, get positive critic notices, and then also positive, the most important thing, audiences to watch. Right.
Well, not only that, it explains where a lot of people are asking, like, well, where do they get the money from, or why do they keep hiring these people? That's the answer. That's the answer right there.
Part of the answer, yeah, but it's
for at least for that part of it, yes.
But it's weird. And then someone pointed out in the comments of the original story that ran the open letter that they said they published a list. Like, look at this list. The top 100 shows are just from all these veteran writers. It's like, yeah, for veterans.
Imagine that.
This. And so they looked at the top shows, and it was all like the shows that you would think, but it was all from people who've been in the industry a long time. It's like, that's how you get to that point, right? You're in the industry a long time. And I think also,
go ahead. Sorry.
No. Well, there is a thing to the mentoring in a decade. It takes, and you can debunk the thing about the 10,000 hours. There's some truth to that. You can, in 200 hours, you can actually get a lot of experience, but 10,000 hours, that's a good gauge. 10,000 hours of doing something to actually be decent at something, whether it's stand-up comedy, learning a guitar, or learning to write a screenplay. 10,000 hours. How many hours a day are you doing on that, toward that goal to actually even get to a 10,000 hour, milestone? That's huge. So yeah, sorry, Tom, you had another point too. So
no, you were fine. I was just agreeing with you and supporting your points, but no, you're 100% right. And this is an excellent report. Go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add in that this is actually like a universally recognized thing, even in psychology, that if you want to be an expert at something, whether it be sword fencing or painting or songwriting or playing the piano, playing the air guitar, 10,000 hours of practice is what it takes.
Yeah, Malcolm Gladwell is where I first heard that.
Yeah,
it takes talent, but also you can train yourself, right? Like there is that.
Yeah, that's the point. You can't train
applying
yourself.
Ability to it.
If you don't have talent, then those 10,000 hours may not be enough.
Well, and that's where I love the movie Amadeus, even if it's not totally accurate, is you have the two dichotomies, right? You have Amadeus who just in his sleep could write, a masterpiece. And then what's his face? I forgot the other guy's name now. But he couldn't, he kept constantly working, couldn't get nearly as much recognition as Amadeus. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. Salieri, thank you for the guys in the chat. But anyhow, yeah, it's a very interesting story, and I'm glad you brought it up or brought this to everybody's attention, Chris, at least busting it open the way you have. It's amazing. And it's weird because a lot of this stuff is things we've heard in the past or just bits and pieces of, and it's something I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more of. And I agree that until people speak out with their names attached to it anonymous, not anonymously or unanonymously, is that a word?
But to begin with, I'm very glad that these stories are coming out in the first place. Even if it is anonymously, that doesn't really matter, because the truth must be told. And now more and more people are wise to this. Elon Musk is dead against it. More and more people are becoming aware of what DEI truly is and how toxic it is. Next, people just need to realize that all DEI really is the S of ESG, which is the real enemy to society. But yeah, before we move on here, Chato, any final thoughts on this? Or six, for that matter. Let's begin with you, Paul.
Just unmute myself. I've been listening and trying to keep myself out of interrupting. Well, I mean, I'm a creative person. I don't need anybody else. I think the one thing about creativity, very much falls along the lines of what Tom was saying, that, if I do manage to crack the formula here in my basement, get one of these screenplays out there and made, and then, the key is, and I tell this to kids, what they ask me, what's the most important thing that you can do when you're trying to be a creative of any kind, whether it's an actor, writer, doesn't matter, is that you have to make yourself valuable to someone else. How do you do that? You do that by taking acting lessons. You take that by writing lots of stuff to get over the initial hump of being a shitty writer. You do all of these things. You make stuff locally, plays, you act in plays, you promote those things. You get other people interested in your skill level and your potential. Your job is to make yourself valuable. It's no one describes it that way. Everyone goes, "Oh, I got to be a good writer. Oh, I got to be a good actor." No. You can't be a good writer, a good actor, good director in isolation. Art, art that doesn't make money is not art. I mean, it's just like, what's the value of it? Well, that's a bit harsh. But the thing is, someone has to.
No, but you got a point.
Someone has to value it and see that there's value. So if I make myself valuable again, I was very valuable at one point in my career, and then I went off to become a computer programmer, and I was valuable to other people for other reasons. That's always what I've done, is that I've made myself of value to someone else so they will hire me. So in this new era of my life, and I can sell one of these screenplays, I'll become valuable to somebody, and I'll jump the queue, and I won't have to fill out this stupid, form at all, because people will go, "Wow, I can make money off of Chato. That's what I want. That's what everybody should."
That's why you're here.
I'm making no money off of you guys.
Whereas, indirectly.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no, it all works out in the end.
You were very important in getting over the 100,000 subscriber hump. So yes.
I know,
exactly. See there, that's the indirect part, right?
But I'm here, and Chris is here because we have something of value to offer you. Correct?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's
where the harsh but truth
needs to work.
And that's where the harsh but true part comes in. You may be harsh, but it is true. When it comes to art, it's only worth what it is that you're putting into it. And if you're just doing a drawing or a painting for yourself, that's one thing, and it's self-fulfilling. That's one thing. That's great. You can't be spending 100 and 200, $300 million to make a self-fulfilling film. It just doesn't work that way. It has to make money at the end of the day. It can be artful, like Oppenheimer was, but it also still has to be commercial enough.
I've had friends who were very good artists, unbelievably painfully shy, didn't show any of their stuff to anybody else, and they were pitiful individuals.
Yeah. But going back to what you said about making yourself valuable, I mean, this is again the death trap with DEI, because here you basically have a lot of writers who have been promoted in the industry whose sole value proposition is that if you hire me, you can tick this form that says that I have this and that identity. No skill or anything, but you can tick that form. But what happens that day when they don't need to take that form?
Well, that's
anymore?
the problem, isn't it?
And the problem that's right now is that we are seeing at the more of those forms are ticked, the worse the final product is.
Yeah. So that, in other words, Paul, you need to go trans.
I'm there. Whatever you want.
Six, any thoughts on this whole
Well, I want to respond mostly to what Paul just said, as far as I also have not benefited monetarily from this channel, but I never would have made it over 200 subs on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, without Midnight's Edge, and I appreciate that. I am the DEI hire or non-hire of Midnight's Edge. I'm grateful to be on this panel. I don't know anybody in Hollywood. I don't have any sources. I know almost nothing about what you guys talk about, but the value that I bring to Midnight's Edge is trustworthiness and loyalty. Andre and Tom know that they can trust me with anything, and it's never going to go anywhere. Right. And I'm never going to burn this channel down. So that's my value.
That's the big thing. You're organized.
Well, I'm organized and I love to research.
Yes.
When I had 15 employees, most of the programmers that I had, who I paid very well, we had someone from Argentina, Jamaica. One programmer was legally blind. We had Brazil, Ethiopia, and none of these people actually went to school for programming. They were just all really passionate about programming, and they basically taught themselves. And we were one of the very few people in the business that didn't have this roster of university graduated programmers with all these different three-letter designations after their name. And people were stunned that we were landing all these Fortune 500 jobs without, these official designated computer programmers. And I said, well, no, I hired people who are passionate about doing the job. And the way you manage, how you manage a company, you hire people that don't need managing.
True.
Yes.
There you go. Done. That's what I did. I hired 15 people who didn't need managing.
Yeah, that's true. Just tell them what to do and they do it, and you don't have to worry about it.
Now, that's not scalable. You can't have 10,000 people who are that,
right,
with it. But 15 people, you certainly can do that. And yeah, we were landing jobs all over the place. And, 1/3 of the people were gay. I mean, and this was just evolutionary. It wasn't done on purpose. Mm-hmm. The best way to hire when you have a small company is ask your best people who they like working with, mm-hmm. and then you hire them. That's really the best way to go out and recruit individuals. It was a really good run. We had a fantastic run.
I also have to say that what you said right there, the way to manage is by hire people that don't need managing. That is the single best management advice I have heard in my entire life. I mean, you should actually write a book about it. Problem is, it would be one sentence, but really, that's all you need to know. Do that, and you're going to be fine. Just hire the best people for the job who are passionate about it, regardless of where they come from and what they look like and who they like to fuck, to put it bluntly. And you're going to end up with a great team.
Yeah. And I gave people, quote unquote, of color management positions, which they never got in their previous jobs. So it was fun. I mean, it was a really good run. Great bunch of unbelievably smart people. It was like Christmas every single day, going into work to see how they solved different problems.
Dark Hierophant sends in $2, says the WGA heads need to be booed and sued and removed. Well, yeah, I mean,
it's been pointed out, this is illegal. This is discrimination, and it's illegal. But it's only illegal if you report it. So this is something that like this whole thing is wrong and illegal and not the way. Now, look, I think a lot of it is overcompensation because there was discrimination in the past, but now this is a new form of discrimination. So I say, do you want progress or revenge? I say progress. I want there to be diverse voices that are able to be authentic. If you've ever seen the show Atlanta with it's on FX. I don't know if you've ever seen that show by why am I spacing on his name? He plays Lando Calrissian.
Oh yes, Billy D. Williams.
No, the other one.
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover.
Yeah.
I really like Donald Glover. I think he's got a lot of charisma. I think he's very smart. I think he's super talented. I've seen his comedy shows. I've heard interviews with him on podcasts. He's got like amazing stories. He came up as a writer on SNL, not SNL. He worked with Tina Fey and learned a lot from her. Like he was on that. What was? Oh God, my brain. Sorry.
30 Rock.
I was gonna say 30 Rock. But...
Yeah, 30 Rock. He was on 30 Rock. He was one of the. He talks about how much he learned, how he went through this process. And the show Atlanta it's authentic. It's not through like a Disney sieve or filter of like whenever Disney does diversity, it's so phony because it feels false. But when other companies seem to do it, it's so organic. It doesn't even feel like it's diversity. It's like, oh, they just picked really good people. So I don't know. I just look up Donald Glover and like some of the stories he told about his upbringing and his like the guy had a really interesting life early on and has earned all the success that he has. Like
the singer, the guy who also had that song.
Yeah, Donald Glover also, he sings. He's a comedian. He's
he's
writer,
very good.
Produces,
very talented guy.
But he's a guy that was like in the shadows for years, learning, and learned under Tina freaking Fey, right? Like I love Tina Fey.
A lot of the best. That's what they did is they learned from other people. Like they spent the time as they were working doing something else, whether it was acting or whatever, learning how to direct, or if they were writing, then they were learning how to direct or produce and.
Right. What I'm saying is when you watch that show, it feels so real. It's his, I'm sure partially his experiences just in life with friends. But like that's what you want. You want something that resonates and feels real instead of this fake presentation of the world, some idyllic version that Disney presents that's so fake. It's so phony and it's so forced that you feel that it's forced.
One of the things that makes the Disney stuff forced is that they're doing imitations of stuff that has happened before.
Right.
They're doing that's the weird. You can feel it.
Absolutely.
There's no core to it. There's nothing. They're actually doing an impression of something.
Well, like I said, kind of half-ass joking, but it's true, Paul. I said all their live action department does now is make remakes of their old animated films.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like
you can do a remake and give it like a different soul. For instance, those two movies with Lindsay Lohan, Freaky Friday and The Love Bug, those updates, those you could call those.
That's
cheap,
my point.
But you could call those cheap money grabs, but they were really, really entertaining, well done upgrades. Let's call it.
Well, that's my point, though, Paul, is they don't even make those movies anymore. That was the whole joke, right? Like, they don't even make, like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. They don't even make Love Bug movies anymore. Shit, there were 6 of those bastards.
Imagine any Honey, I Shrunk the Kid that they would do now? You know how bad that would be?
Oh, well, we're about to find out soon.
Unwatchable.
Because Rick Moranis is coming back, and they got, what's-his-face, the weirdo guy from Beauty and the Beast, and he does the voice of Olaf playing his son now.
Yeah.
That's what's supposed to be happening. But anyway, Chad St. John sends in $5 to say, Chris, would you say that film people not speaking out is similar situation to the movie On the Waterfront?
I don't remember. Is that a part of On the Waterfront? All I remember is Stella.
Oh no, that's Streetcar Named Desire. Same actor, different movie.
Yeah, On the Waterfront is the boxing movie.
I literally haven't seen On the Waterfront since the 80s when I was a kid.
I
No,
can't
I
remember.
don't remember. So, and I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that, like, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, it's people have to speak out. Like, that's the only way. Someone from the guild needs to file a lawsuit against the guild. All this DEI stuff needs to go away. In terms of just, you know, some lawsuit. It's not positive for society, even, where you begin to question where, you know, this whole thing came up with the airline pilots. And it's like, I never even thought about it before. I'm like, if you're a pilot, you're in a position that you work to get to, and you are qualified. And you, if there's anything that happens that goes wrong, I have the full confidence that someone in that cockpit knows what they're doing. I don't have that now. Now that I've learned that DEI is being prioritized over the best, I'm nervous. And I never even had a single thought about that before. What it does is it inherently, unfortunately, it lowers standards. And this is bad. I mean, look, you can lower standards for entertainment. We've seen it, fine. What's the harm? There's harm for sure, but there's way more harm when it comes to building bridges in the country, architecture, people who work in transportation. I'm, you know, I have major concerns going forward if this is not stamped out and there isn't some, and it just, I feel bad for people that get in positions who work for it, where you're looking and going, well, did you really deserve it? Because I don't know. Because of programs like this. It's bad for everyone. It's bad for everyone. I'm sorry, I'm saying out loud.
Right.
I hate to interrupt, but Paul has to be leaving us, and we have a couple of super chats for him too. So we're going to cut into those real quick here. ActionCom says for $5, Paul, ever hear of the chess playing machine called the Turk? Truth was someone was hiding in the machine. You think history might repeat with AI?
Well,
you never heard of that? I did.
No, I hadn't. But the chess playing machines now are pretty good.
Yeah, this is when they were doing all the challenges of whether or not a man could beat a machine and stuff like that.
Yeah. And Ace 1589 2001 says for $5, I have to disagree with Paul. Humans require entertainment or escapism to prevent having their spirits broken by the negativity of the world.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but it does not have to be generated from an outside source. You can generate your own entertainment.
Yeah, people have entertained themselves for years and years and years.
Yeah, just grab a box.
We've only had movies and television for the last 100 years. We've only had television and movies for the last 100 years. So
did you notice what I did there? I could have been way more crude, but I had, you know, it was a much more fun remark that I just made that alluded to something that was crude. See,
that was indeed.
That's how you entertain without movies.
And yeah, you can. Why can't you? People have been doing it for a long time. We don't need the entertainment industry.
Granted, people used to have a lot more kids, but
they always had that long before.
See, Paul, I can do it too.
No, that's good.
That was pretty good.
No, very good.
What else we got here for Paul?
Let's see. I think that was it for.
That's it for Paul.
Paul,
okay,
yeah.
We got anything for Chris?
Paul,
we got one for Chris. I know.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that as soon as we'll let Paul leave, and then we'll get Chris's here if you want.
Well,
actually, I want to get your reaction to the Ghostbuster trailer, both of y'all, before you take off too.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta go. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, well, let's let Chris is going here. Lover of the Green says, Chris, do you think there'll be DEI reckoning? Most Fauci mandates got defeated because people got tired of it. Bud Light suffered a backlash in 2023. We need more normies to push back against DEI trash.
This is the thing. Hollywood is already lives in fear without DEI, and fear is like, am I going to work again? Whatever. There needs to be a reckoning, yes, but it's going to be, someone has to be the test case. Someone has to say, hey, this is nonsense. This isn't affecting the top like 2% of writers. They'll always get work because they consistently perform. This is the sort of mid-level guys in the writer's room that that consistently, churn out quality work, but they're not like in the top. So I don't know.
Right, so make yourself valuable.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But look, I actually think that the kind of dog eat dog nature of the entertainment business is a good thing.
Yeah.
It forces you to up your game. The bar is here. No, it's way over there. Go for it. But when you lower the bar, it affects the industry to the point where people are turned off. I mean, the previous story, the one, the open letter, this is really a sister story to it. Talked about like how it used to be, story, character. Now the conversation is, what are we trying to say with this thing? That's not everything. What we're trying to say is, hey, watch our effing show. It's entertaining. You'll have a good time.
Indeed. And then kind of not a follow-up to that, but on the similar note, Mo Zamboni sends in a member chat and says, I appreciate the people sharing the info with Film Threat, but for those of us who were canceled, not concealed, I can tell you nothing will change until they fight back publicly. Yeah, and it just kind of goes along with what you were just saying, but yeah.
That's 100%. Until there is a public outcry from people within the industry, which runs by fear, nothing will change. Nothing is going to change. It just won't. So,
yeah. And I thought you might get a kick out of this one. Chaos Sonic 1 sends a Rumble chat over here on the Rumble side of things. It says, to counteract its skill, intelligence, talent, and humor, aka Sith.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you should post that in the comments on the story.
Hell yeah.
Which is live. Hey, I got to run, everybody. Paulie,
all right.
Paul and I both have to run. So as for Ghostbusters, it was okay.
Looked okay to you?
It looked okay. It didn't look bad. I like all those actors. I like Bill Murray, like Dan Aykroyd.
I'll make a comment after Chris leaves, and then I'll go.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being here, Chris. Check out Film Threat. Yeah. Okay.
My comment was, it looks like whatever newness, let's call it strangery thingy aspects of the last Ghostbusters, which I kind of liked, maturing it up. They have completely abandoned this, and they're now trying to get back to the original Ghostbusters. They've been completely scared off of whatever newness that they created in the most recent one. That's my feeling with this trailer.
I don't know.
We give up.
Like the perfect continuation to me, but yeah.
No, I wanted to see more of the maturing of what the good parts of what was there before. I really don't need to see the old guard.
I felt like we got plenty of the new stuff. In fact, I would say, if anything, at least in this trailer, Paul Rudd got a lot of good moments to shine. He's definitely taken over the.
Bill Murray was like back into his old Bill Murray. We didn't.
Good.
No, but that's wrong. No, to me, that's not moving forward.
Right.
Well,
that's my thought.
I'm feeling this is the last time we're going to see some of these guys,
because they might physically be dead.
Yes. So I'm okay with that, but I get what you're saying. But yeah.
Anyway, that's just my thought. To me, it's a regression. It still could be good. It does look like it copies the storyline from the animated series.
That's a problem.
Which will be good.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Hey, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
Love you guys.
This is for you, Chris.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to read it? Let's see. AKA
Sure.
dislikes puns. T Neil 89 for 10. I'm not convinced that bye, Paul. I'm not convinced that all creative heads at Disney haven't been replaced by a sentient, sanctimonious spreadsheet which thinks it's a real boy, girl, that. Well, there you go. And thank you. Meant for Chris. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like AI would make better managers, because AI could make choices that are cold based on performance. That's it. AI might make a better better part of a management team, because it's not weighing anything that this DEI stuff brings up. So there you go. And with that, everyone have a great day, and may the force be with they.
Take care.
Take care.
All right. So on that note, so Andre, it sounds like you kind of enjoyed this trailer.
Yeah, I liked it more than I thought I would. So I'm looking forward to the movie now. Before I was like, yeah, okay, that's coming, that's happening, whatever. Like, I liked the last one, didn't love it. I thought it was like too much emphasis on the kids. I didn't really like the idea of like underage people being Ghostbusters, putting their life on the line, being outside of cars and stuff like that. And everything was addressed in this trailer right here. And once again, it appears that Mr. Dickless is right. So yeah, we'll see how
That was
turns
one of the
out.
better scenes of the trailer. It's like you had kids on a car with a proton pack shooting downtown New York. And it's like, well, the proton pack is pretty harmless. And the girl looks like, well, mostly harmless or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference right there as well.
Although this thing could blow things up and it's technically a nuclear reactor, but yeah, let's just go with that.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
No, there was some highs and lows in this trailer, but yeah, I'm curious to hear what
Yeah.
else you think. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I it was better than I thought it was going to be, and it made me more hyped for the movie. I kind of wish we had gotten it earlier because I know that Cultured Casino had thoughts, which we're probably going to have to revisit on Wednesday. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, less Patton Oswalt would have made it better. But what did you think, Six?
I really enjoyed it. Culture mentioned that it gave a lot of the plot away and that it had too much in the trailer. And I've been thinking about that comment for the last hour. And yeah, he's right. But I did enjoy it. I loved seeing the Walter Peck character, who was the EPA investigator from must have been, was it the second Ghostbusters? That was really cool to see him back in the movie, back in the role. So it's going to be good. I loved the Afterlife one. Seeing the Harold, what is his name? Ramis? Norman Ramis? Harold Ramis?
The
What is his
original
name?
Egon is Harold Ramis, but
Yeah, Harold Ramis. Seeing him back in that, I guess, AI, or however they slapped him back in there. That was really cool to see him. So that brought back a lot of member berries.
oh, you mean with the last one? Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, with Afterlife. And so I have very high expectations for this movie, that it's going to be as good, if not better. I don't think it's going to be better. I haven't really loved any of the trailers for this movie, but I'm still definitely going to see it as soon as possible. So,
Yeah,
so far, two thumbs up.
This was a better trailer than the first teaser trailer we got. I liked the Bill Murray lines, especially like Tall, Dark, and Horny. That was straight up a Bill Murray, Peter Venkman line. I liked seeing the old crew at work alongside the new crew. I didn't like Patton Oswalt. I'm hoping they pull stuff from the earlier cartoons and not the later cartoons. Slimer looked like it might be fun.
Slimer looked good.
I hope they're not showing all the funniest scenes in the trailer, though. That's my concern more than showing us more of the story. Because if this is all the funny bits, then I'm like, oh, crap. You know what I mean? Like, we need more funny stuff than this. Because the last one, that would be the one thing that I would say that Afterlife was lacking, but rightfully so, because it was supposed to be a send-off for Harold Ramis, like you were saying. This one needs to get back to the goofy, funny, remind us why we love Ghostbusters more than just the spooky stuff.
Yeah.
And the ghost aspect. And I like that with Bill Murray. He's coming in with the energy. He's bringing the fucking energy. That's what I loved seeing. And that's where I disagree with Paul on that, is like, no, I'm glad to see Bill busting down that door and going, I'm fucking back. Because that means he's got the energy. That means he's probably going to be in the movie quite a bit more than we think, considering he's all over the trailer. So, I mean, that gives me hope in that respect, because I want to see the old crew alongside the new crew, like Andre just said. So
I think all of his scenes in the movie were in the trailer. I don't think he's going to be in the movie a lot.
Hope that's not the case.
I do too, but I don't want to, because I fucking love Bill Murray, especially in that role. So I don't want to get too excited about it.
This is another thing I'm worried about, but it depends on how he goes out. Because they do set that up in this trailer a little bit more than the first trailer. I know, like, some people are like, well, it doesn't really have any stakes because it didn't look like anybody got killed. Well, this one, it shows you, yes, people definitely die from that freezing and shit. So that one person just crumbles, remember, in the trailer, from kind of like the T-1000 or whatever. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see.
we'll see. When does it? Is this the March 22?
March 22nd, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have to work that Thursday, but I'm gonna try to get it off.
Anything else, Andre, on Ghostbusters before we?
No, I think that about sums it up, and I also think that you probably touched on what the culture casinos issue was, that it showed too much, which is a point that I do understand. But yeah, let's move on with the super chats.
Yeah, because we got a few super chats, and we got one more quick story to get through that we did not touch on yet, even though it came from last week. Patrick Robinson sends in $4.99, says, help me understand what is so great about Tron that they keep trying to revive it. Maybe I'm missing something. We were kind of discussing this. I don't know if it was on here, but I think it was on another stream. I think it was it Mr. H's or one of the ones we were on this weekend, Andre, but you and I were kind of in the same camp with this. Like, we both love the first film, but we understand that it's not a blockbuster franchise. It's not gonna ever be. It's so, as far as I'm kind of with you, Patrick, I don't understand why they're gonna keep trying. They're gonna keep trying because it's Disney. And now they got Jared Leto involved. But yeah, anything to say on that, Andre?
Well, this
was cheaper too. We were talking about that aspect. Yeah.
No, because the original Tron, that was kind of like meant to be Disney's space Star Wars in a sense. At the time when it came out, like a big
space,
epic,
but yeah,
for fantasy. And remember when the Dune Legacy came out, then the Marvel universe wasn't this big thing. So Disney were still in that middle phase where they were like really trying to go for hits, investing a ton of money in movies like The Lone Ranger and John Carter. Like, Tron Legacy came out in that period when they were experimenting, trying to create a new big franchise because it was something that they had. So it isn't so much that there is so much great about it as it is, this is something that we have. And in periods when they feel that they need new franchises or they need some other IP because the ones that they have aren't really working, that's when they're going to brush the dust off of Tron again. And that's what we're seeing right now. Star Wars ain't working. Marvel ain't working. Pirates of the Caribbean is on hold for the indefinite future, probably forever. Let's try this Tron thing one more time. I think that's what's going on. That's why they're doing it. If Marvel still had been fighting on all cylinders, if Star Wars had been a thriving franchise, you would not be getting Tron right now.
Not only do I think you're right, I think it's ironic because I only think the only reason we got Tron Legacy in the first place was because Pirates hit. And that's when Disney was reminded, oh yeah, there are boys that buy toys. Even more than girls do in some cases. Right? So that's what they were trying to do, is catch that wave with something else besides Pirates. And I think you're right. The only reason this is happening again is because Pirates is languishing and trying to develop whatever it's going to do next, whether it's with Johnny Depp or not. And the other part of this we touched upon, but we didn't touch on here, was that basically this is a very slimmed down budget. For those who don't know, this story is going to be mostly in the real world. Very little, from what we've understood or been told, is going to be in the Tron world. So that's how they're doing it cheaper, if that makes sense. So it's not going to cost $200-300 million like the last one did, because with inflation or whatever it was.
Yep, that's about right. But also look at the bright side. If you just need to get the score right, if they can't get Daft Punk, get someone like Daft Punk.
Trent Reznor.
I don't know. Trent Reznor, he's got like one or two good songs in him. Like, for instance, look at the
his scores were good.
Remake of A Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It had a great opening theme. The intro sequence was fantastic. And the score for the rest of the movie was totally forgettable.
Fuck it, get Harold Faltermeyer then.
There's plenty who can do it.
Harold Faltermeyer.
Just have to hope that the director will find someone. What would again, this is the Norwegian in me talking right here. But what kind of would be cool would be if this Norwegian director teamed up with Røyksopp to do the music. You have never heard about Røyksopp.
No.
Røyksopp is Daft Punk but Norwegian, if that makes sense. So it's not exactly like Daft Punk. I would say it's better. You just haven't necessarily heard about it. Junkie XL would also work. Yeah,
maybe, but kind of played out. Moby is old.
Moby is too old. That's too late.
Well, but then again, you know what? Moby probably wouldn't be the worst choice because he probably is a fan of the original. You know what I mean? Like that I could see more than Junkie XL. Junkie XL is just kind of like the flavor of the month to me.
Well, it's been a flavor of the month for 20 years now.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. we're going to need someone like that, but someone that's
we need something new or fresh maybe too. Otherwise, we just got to go to Harold Faltermeyer. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Because is Tangerine Dream still around?
Tron, Norwegian black metal version, the true cult edition. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I just hope that this
I'm trying to
one
remember
is going to be
Wendy
the
DiCarlo
visual feast that the previous one was.
Because Wendy DiCarlo passed away. Well, there's no longer. Anyway, whatever. Moving on. We got other super chats. But thank you for that one. Vincenzo Beretta sends in another 20 euros. Thank you again. It says, patriarchy, Barbie. These are all constructs created out of fear of living one life and then you die. This is clearly spelled out in the end. Barbie can only be a president, then death. An alternative is imagination.
Yeah, so basically pretend that you're a president and then you die. Is that what we're saying? I'd have to rewatch the movie for this, which I'm not in. But you are right. There were a lot of themes going on there.
Yeah, my issue was, look, the sad part about it, and the reason I was so against it is it's just in the end there is a clear answer and a clear place to go, but it feels like whether it was Greta Gerwig wanted to go one way and she got too much pressure from other people to go the more woke way or the other. I mean, the clear answer at the end is that Barbie should be saying, look, I don't want to be president. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be any of these other Barbies. I just want to try being a mom. That is all you really needed. And then you didn't have to have her going to the gynecologist at the end either. Right. Because that implies that she can have babies now. And she knows that. Right. Like
it also implies this is where you'll be getting your abortions.
Exactly. And it would go along with the whole Midge thing too. And like I said, the other thing they missed out on that was like having like somebody in the real world that wasn't Ken that she fell for. You know what I mean? So there was an alternative for her to want to be there.
Because she never showed really any kind of attraction to a man, did she?
No. So it was just mainly Ken. And like I said, if she'd have met, like, let's say you had like Patrick Dempsey or something like that playing like a doctor in the real world or a cop or something like that kept running into Barbie, and then she kind of ended up with this crush on him or something like that, or just kind of made her realize that there are people out there, and then she kept dwelling on the family thing, right? He kept seeing her watching kids, and then they kind of half-ass point it out, but they don't dwell on it at all, that there is no kids in Barbie land really and all that shit, and there's a lot of aspects to it. It's like, yeah, I mean, kids are kind of important when it comes to this being a kid's toy. I mean,
but even if they had her give a man like a second glance, like do a double take on somebody,
right? Or just realize that men are different than what Ken is, right?
Yeah. Because even the Kens, even though there were all these different Kens in Barbie Land, they were all just Ken. They're all like the same personality, basically.
Yeah. And they're all doting on their Barbie, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I said it would have been funnier in that scene with the construction workers had she turned it around on them a little bit, because that would have been a bit of a new experience for her to have men hit on her like that, because and she's never had a Ken hit on her like that. But her response, it doesn't make sense compared to what she was a few minutes before that in the Barbie world. And that's where the movie loses it for me. It's like, no, wait a minute. You can't have her both be, a naive fish out of water 1 minute and then telling these construction workers that it doesn't make any sense that they're flirting with her since she doesn't have a fucking vagina. And that's almost her literal words. Like, you can't have both. You know what I mean? She can't be both the smartest person in the room 1 minute and the dumbest person in the room the next. And that was some of the issues I had with the third act of Wonder Woman as well. But anyway, that being said, with Barbie, more so, right? Because she has no reference for the real world. So she wouldn't even understand that at that point yet. That's what I was like, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense.
But thank you, Vincenzo, for the 20 euros. We really appreciate the support. And then Cosmin Cristani sent us $1 with no message. So again, thanks for the tip. For that support. Yeah, thanks for the tip.
And then Chaos Sonic sends a tip over on the Rumble side of things. It says it would be funny if they made Rachel as an evil queen. Her personality fits it. Well, that actually sends us to our final story. About Rachel Zegler, because there's actually an update on this. We didn't cover the original story, but we talked about it several other places. But I don't think we ever covered it properly here on
we did
main channel
because it kind of like it first dropped on a day when we weren't streaming. So I believe you probably covered it on After Dark. But then this update came on the 28th, which would have been yesterday. So this is the first update since we this is the first stream since the update. So
and what this does is the story. Then what this does is actually it's not that big of a story as so much as it does support what WDW Pro was reporting, and that was that Rachel Zegler had been reduced, or her role was going to be reduced for the final cut of the film, which would also answer why they would have reshoots for a year, push the movie back for a year and have reshoots, I should say. So that's the wrong way around. And the rumor going around via, I believe, WDW Pro was that they were hiring a younger actress to fill in some flashback scenes to hopefully make you feel more sympathetic towards Rachel Zegler's version of the character when we see her in the grown-up scenes. And it looks like there has been a casting call, and I know it's kind of small, so I'll see if I can zoom in here on this. And it looks like from the Walt Disney Studios, there's a casting search for Snow White, directed by Mark Webb. Rehearsals will begin approximately 2022 in London, and filming begins in March 22nd in London. And this was last year, actually. So they were looking for a young Snow White actor to play a female Latina young princess with a deep love for her family and the love of her kingdom. Naturally intelligent and compassionate, her parents teach her always to lead with kindness and generosity, speaks with standard American accent, must sing, dancing a plus supporting role.
Yeah.
I love that they have to have a standard American accent, but that's just so they fit with
so they fit with Rachel Zegler's standard American accent. Yeah.
I love this at the bottom here. We are committed to diverse, inclusive casting. Submissions for nondescript roles will be accepted for all performers. Anyway.
Well, we knew.
Of course, this is a script role, so there was no point in including it there. Now, was it? But anyway, sorry, Six, you were
saying.
We knew that there was going to be a little girl cast to play Snow White a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the headline is here.
The headline apparently is that they have beefed up the role of this young actress.
So she's getting even more screen time than was originally.
She's getting more screen time now than she was before. That's the story here then, apparently. And this was something that Script, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but he pointed out to me behind the scenes that this kind of casting typically happens more than a year in advance. It's much more difficult because there are so many more rules and regulations regarding shooting time for children. Plus, they also have to deal with these pesky things of children growing up, especially children in this age right here, where you actually can see a visible change from the beginning to the start of a production, especially one that has gone over more than a year, like here. And
we have the answer right here. Actually, it looks like, because they pointed out kind of what you were, and that was that She had already filmed her scenes back then, and there was people claiming that she was not going to be involved in the reshoots. Nor were they modifying young Snow White scenes to remove Rachel Zegler from the filming of the parts. But it does look like she did go back to London to do reshoots in June. What happened around June? Does anybody remember?
Rachel Zegler said on the picket line how much she should be paid for wearing a dress.
Weird.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that too.
So
Yeah,
that's kind of the story, Six, to answer your question right there. Yeah.
Yeah, basically this summer is when Rachel Zegler was on a roll in multiple places and in multiple interviews, including the picket line. So, yeah, the timeline is interesting there.
It was a great surprise. She wasn't expecting to go back for the same job. Yeah, so there you go.
They're going to have to cut her out of a lot of that movie in order for it to make a difference. It's a fucking Snow White movie, and she's playing Snow White. So
You'd be surprised what 10 minutes.
I can't wait to see how
Setting
amazing
up
this
the
little
right-
girl.
I know, but I'm just saying, you'd be surprised how much 10 minutes with a young kid character, as long as you can find a way to make that track, it can make a big difference. The right kind of adjustments, and Andre's one who'll go for this more than I will, because I'm one of those people who's like, it's still the same fucking movie most of the time. But he's one of those that believes in a lot of the sometimes random edits and little tweaks here and there can make all the difference in the world.
I have seen the difference that it does make. And look, you just consider this. If you take 10 minutes away from Rachel Zegler and give those 10 minutes to this young actress, it's going to make a huge difference in the overall experience of the movie, especially if it's like some kind of storyline that you can build up there and set up later. I mean, I can give you like another example. That's like, for instance, the Conan the Barbarian remake from 2011. The kid who plays Conan in the beginning of the movie, better than Momoa.
Yeah, because Momoa and he's still not that great, but I mean, at that point, he still had not.
You know, the irony is that he would be a better Conan today than he was
absolutely.
in 2011. Now is when he should have been cast for it.
Well, it's because
he wasn't the problem with that movie. It was everything else.
No.
Well, and then what was that movie that it was some Rambo or Rocky movie that you and Andre were talking about, Tom? And you thought, what movie did you see? It's a completely different.
Yeah, that's same
Last
thing. That's
Blood.
Rambo Last Blood. Yeah. Where we
and
that's the same point, because that 10-minute sequence in the beginning, that set up the entire thematic storyline for the entire rest of the movie. That was just gone in the American version, which made them practically two different movies, although they were more or less identical beyond the intro. But one had a theme to it, and the American one didn't.
Yeah,
because of that one sequence.
Now, again, my whole point is at the end of the day, sometimes it's still the same movie, but what matters is your first experience, unfortunately. And if you can't experience it the first time, that's where it sucks sometimes, where it's like, oh yeah, the director's cut might be great, but I've already seen the other version. I don't care. Like, I've already either fallen in love with that version or I dislike it. And very rarely is a director's cut going to make me love it more. And I rarely like the director's cut or a fan cut more, because if I like a movie, it's because I fell in love with the theatrical cut. That's why, you know what I mean? Like, it's very rare. There are exceptions. There are exceptions to the rule, but in more cases than not, I generally am just like, yeah, the theatrical cut gets you in and out faster, and it tells you the same damn story.
Is this going to the theater, or is this going to be a Disney Plus?
No, probably it's going to go to theater.
As far as I know, it's theatrical. Yeah.
If it's a disaster, it might be Disney Plus. If they're so ashamed of it that they can't show it. But
would you take your kids, Andre, based on what you know now? Just because I know we know almost nothing. We've seen a tiny trailer.
I don't think I know anybody.
Do you think your kids?
I would take my kids in the hypothetical event that this becomes like a must-see thing among the kids in their school. Yeah, I might under that circumstance. Otherwise, no. But here's like, and just for that reason, I sometimes have to go and take them to see movies I otherwise would not have gone to see. Like, for instance, I took them to see Wish. They hated it. If like they wanted to see it because it was like people were talking about it in school and stuff. And once they saw it, were like, it was boring. Like my son was like, is it finished soon? And my daughter after was like, yeah, that was boring. Let's never see that again.
Ooh, that's bad because she was the demographic for the audience.
She's the demographic, yeah. She's the Disney princess demographic, and she thought it was boring as hell. And she didn't hate it. It was just boring. Nothing happened.
Yeah. And Christian, you basically named the few of the director's cuts that I would say are, yeah, Superman 2, yep, the Donner cut. Aliens, yep, the extended cut. And Daredevil, yep, the director's cut. Yeah, the Lord of the Rings trilogy to that. There you go. And you got your basic starter pack. That's all you need. As far as like there's a few other exceptions to, I'm not going to say there's not
the motion picture.
Yes, the TV cut I actually prefer more than the director's cut, but yeah. The only bad side is we need an ultimate cut, like you were talking. You and I were talking, Andre, where somebody takes the best parts of the one version and the other version and puts them together. But
Star
I just
Wars
like
special editions. Let's not get started.
No, because there's nothing in them that adds anything to the story, especially in Empire. Because Yellow Flash and I argue about that all the time. Because he's like, "Oh, it's not so bad." It's like, yes, he changes all kinds of shit that doesn't need to be changed. Like when R2-D2 gets ate by the sea monster thing or the swamp monster, he gets spat out. In the original version, he says, "You're lucky you don't taste so good." In the special edition, for some dumb reason, George changed the line to, "You're lucky to you got out of there alive." It's like, that makes absolutely no sense. He's a robot. Like, what the hell? Anyway, just little things like that bother me. I'm sorry. Anyway, Twilight, it's like a song. Okay, I'm used to hearing it a certain way. It'd be like if somebody took out a harmonica and all of a sudden replaced it with a freaking violin or something. It's like, what is that? To me, that's just like, doesn't sound right. Anyway, Twilight Hope sends us to Bulgarian Lev, as Andre said.
Correct.
Sorry, but BGN is Bulgarian Lev, and you do not need to apologize, Twilight Hope. I was the one who had forgotten. Andre, of course, was right on the ball with that one as usual. So
yeah, and we do appreciate the support in Bulgarian Lev, and we
of course
we have viewers in Bulgaria, beautiful country.
That's what I love, is trying to figure out where these all are, because then I got to figure out where you guys are coming from, and that's what the trip is for me doing this. Because even though I worked in radio, it's like I could have had, I don't know how many people listening at one time, anywhere from a couple hundred people to a couple thousand, but I didn't see them. I didn't see the numbers. And I sure as hell, I knew there were people that were around me, right? When we're broadcasting out, the fact that I'm talking to Andre in Norway, and then I'm talking to you guys, or, well, you know what I mean? Like, on the other side of the world. And then you got people out there that are all over the world. It's just, it blows my mind. It's crazy. Just like this one from, a Bavarian normie pleb who sends in €5, $5.99 actually. Says, are there Hollywood doctors yet that offer giving writers permanent disabilities increase to their chances of getting hired?
Oh gosh.
Well, hopefully
I see what you're saying here. Holy shit.
Conditions, because in India you have doctors that do that for beggars. I know that some screenwriters are becoming like beggars, but let's hope that they don't reach quite that level.
Let me tell you that there are people. Now, I don't know if there's a crossover with Hollywood people, but there are people, and I can't believe that doctors actually confirm these disorders, that think they're blind or think they're, can't walk or they're disabled, and they actually give them the operations to do this. Like this one, I was reading the story about this lady or watching this video, can't remember which, about this lady who identified as blind, and she finally found a doctor who would do it for her. It's like, are you fucking insane? Yes, the answer is yes. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that this is too far off if this shit didn't get any worse.
Well, look at some of the plastic surgeries that doctors perform, and they make people look like absolute freaks. I saw this girl on Instagram. She had the biggest ass I have ever seen, and the rest of her body was not proportionate. I can't believe I didn't send it to Tom because he's in the.
I think I know the one you're talking about. Did she have like this weird face that looked like she was a fucking doll, and her butt looked like a big bubble butt?
She'd had. Okay, I mean,
so then it wasn't the same one, but I've seen ones like that. But yeah.
But I mean, it was Oh, she was complaining because airplane seats weren't big enough to accommodate her butt.
Oh no, this is a different one then. Okay.
I mean, it was
You
astounding
paid
how
for
big
that
her
ass,
butt
I
was.
guess.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not ashamed, like if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. But I can definitely see people going to doctors and get diagnoses for disabilities, not necessarily performing surgery to like remove somebody's hand or something.
But we have gotten to that point, 6. I am shitting you not.
You could probably go to Thailand, get it done.
Oh, I'm sure you could. You probably could do it in Mexico.
Yeah. No, if I just pulled a country out of my
I don't
ass,
suggest
so
any of this. If you feel like
thank
the need to do this, I just got to say this just because we're, I guess, broadcasting at this point. If you feel the need to do any of these things, or you think this sounds like a good idea, seek psychiatric help, please. Yeah. We're not doctors, for one.
I mean, she's probably making bank on Instagram, but what are you going to do in 10 years? I don't know.
It's insane that they're allowing this shit to go on. But anyway, Chaos Sonics says Jedi training. Well, it's time to join the Sith. Yeah, this was a part of the other one. I'm sorry I missed this part of it too, but that is a good analogy there. You should put that out there somehow. Grad Admiral Adam has been a member for 13 months. Says sometimes it's not what you know, it's but who you know. It is, but
this isn't most of the time the case.
Yes, but it's still, you got to be able to perform, and that's the thing is like, you know, those guys were on a roll earlier. So that's why I didn't interject, but I brought it up on the screen. Something about family as well. It's yes. So that's the thing is nepotism will only get you so damn far, right? Because people can only put up with idiots so long. You can give your dumb cousin a job or your wife's fucking nephew a job only once or twice before you're like, fuck this noise. I'm never doing that again, because it never works out well. And the same thing with friends, right? I've ran into the same thing with friends. Friends and business never mix all that well, unless you got a situation like Andre and I, where our friendship, blossomed out of our business relationship. We had business relationship first, friend relationship second.
Exactly.
That's the way it works.
Let's put it this way. I wouldn't hire a friend from before for Midnight's Edge.
Not anymore. No.
That might not work out so well. I need someone who can do the job. And then click, you're going to be friends. That's all cool and good and well.
But yeah, like it's one of those things, you have to be able to do the job for so long. And the parts where it used to be a problem when you had to worry about nepotism coming in with a lot of these places where people had to be able to do their job, like, I don't know, an air traffic controller or a doctor or nurse or something like that. But like, yeah, nowadays it's like, oh, you're black, you're Hispanic. Okay, well, here you go. You get the job. Fuck this other guy who's qualified or other woman who's qualified, Yeah. So yeah, that's the problem with that. Absolutely. And then on that point, Ace, you're not wrong. Ace 1589 2001, $5 super chat. Thank you. And this is true. The problem is that psychiatrists, are just as crazy now with those crazies. I don't know if they're just as crazy. Here's what I think it is. And I ran into this with my own experience, is I think a lot of them are afraid to tell you no, or to tell you shouldn't feel that way. No, but with my dietitian and diabetes stuff, because that's the thing is I think they're afraid they'll get fucking sued. Like some of the craziest stupid shit, but I'm serious right now. Like I feel like these people are, not all of them, but some of them are making bank off it, right? Some of them are exploiting it. And I think the other half of them that aren't saying, no, you need help and I'm going to help tell you why, or these are the doctors you need to go to and let's try this. Those that know that this is wrong, they're just afraid to say anything because they know that if they say no, you shouldn't do that to your body because it's destroying, it's not healthy, that they'll turn around and sue that doctor now because they're saying, I
think it's that they're afraid that they are going to lose a client. They'll lose a patient. If people go into their doctor and they hear something that they don't like, they blame the doctor for saying it. And so they say, well, that doctor called me fat. I'm going to go to another doctor. I don't like being called fat. I don't like being told that I'm unhealthy. I don't like being told that I need to make some lifestyle changes. I just want a pill. So then they go to another doctor. I mean, that's why pharmaceutical companies spend so much money on advertising, because that way you'll see that ad, you'll see these happy people playing with their kids on a swing set, and they'll go to their doctor and say, hey, I saw this pill. I have that condition. Can I get this pill?
Yeah, you're right
where
about
the
that.
money is.
You're right about that. But here's the only reason I say the other thing I'm not so sure about, because when I brought this up to the person that I was talking to, because they're like, this is the kind of thing we encourage you to eat, and this and this and that and the other. And it's like, well, what about this, this and that? And she's like, well, if you eat it, it's fine. You know, if you want to, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, here's my thing. I'm like a child. You have to tell me, no, you can't have this. And yes, you can have this. And she said, no, I can't tell you what you can and can't have. We're not allowed to tell you no. That's the part that stuck out to me. So I understand where you're saying that, Six. To me, I feel like, okay, so somebody went and sued somebody because they told them they couldn't have fucking chicken nuggets. That's what I feel like happened. Or they couldn't eat candy bars or something.
How come when all your friends tell you can't have something, you still go ahead and do it?
Because it's doctor. A doctor's different than my
that
friends.
dietitian that you're seeing who said that cholesterol comes from nuts, who is completely wrong, is not a doctor.
Well, that's a different conversation to be had here. I probably took it out of context. But anyway, point being, it's different when a doctor tells me I can and can't do something than a friend.
Okay.
And that's the thing, is we try to trust these people. And that's the problem, is the trust is put into these people. And it's probably a conversation for a completely different stream. But anyway, Ace had another point from earlier about AI. He says with $5, AI is not intelligence. It can be best described as a computer-generated Mad Libs. Anyone who disagrees knows nothing of what intelligence sentence is. Yeah, here's the thing, and I'm not disagreeing with some people who say that I may not understand the technical ins and outs of certain things with AI. I'm not going to be the first one to argue with that because I can barely even turn my computer on. But I will say I do understand the fundamentals of it, and you can't create something from nothing when it comes with AI, because I can't tell it to just make me write me a story. It needs some kind of prompt and or to be taught to do that. So yeah, anyway.
But yeah, I think you know what it is. I think a lot of people, myself included, and you sometimes have a hard time expressing what you're trying to say. But I think you have you have a fairly good comprehension of it. Because like you'll say something and I know what you mean, but maybe it just doesn't come out that way.
Well, like I said, I did a cursory search on the whole neural network thing, and it still took it right back around to my original point.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where I was saying, yeah. Technically, like whoever it was said in the chat, sorry, I forgot your name already, who said it, but or forgot who said it already. I mean, more so. But yeah, basically, technically right matters more so than being right, the technical terms. But yeah. Or however you put it. But yeah, anyway, 16-bit mascot sends in 5 and says, ahoy, Midnight's Edge, great morning show as always. Hail to the chat. Great peeps and always enjoy. Well, glad to hear that, 16-bit mascot, and glad to see you as usual. Hope you're
just want to say hi to Paulie.
I know. Yeah.
Stop eating crap and start working out. Sue me.
Well, once I find something to sue you for, you got something to worth suing for, I'll think about it.
And meanwhile, you can stop. You can do what the man says. Stop eating crap and start working out.
Yes.
Well, I got to work on my schedule so I can work on making food that's not crap. But I've been doing pretty good. I've made some changes.
Good.
Adam Wolford sends in 10 and says, when we finally get FTL warp drive, it will be called Miguel L. Cabrera drive.
Who is that?
He's the one that forms the mathematics for warp drive possible. He's a Latin man from University of Mexico. Oh. I was laughing because I can barely say anything today. Miguel El Cabrera, is that how you say it? El Kabiri? It's got to have like an S sound at the end with an A, because it sounds, well, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Miguel Alcubierre? I'm not
there. Yeah, Andre's probably right.
Yeah, probably. I would imagine it's probably Alcubierre. I would imagine it's something like that. That should be within the ballpark at least. Yeah, no, cool. If he does the mathematics for us, brilliant. Then I just hope that the engineers are able to translate the mathematics into reality, because that's the challenge. There's plenty of stuff you can do in mathematics, but that are just pseudoscience in reality. So call me when the engineering can catch up to the math. Until then, I shall curb my enthusiasm.
Then 16-bit sends in another 5. Thank you so much. Says, really good crew today and vibrant discussion. Always keep on keeping it real. Well, that's what we try to do. In fact, we're going to be having a couple guests throughout the week, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we have guest packing on, or a bunch of guests coming both on Wednesday and Fridays. That should be cool.
Yeah, some of them you've seen on the panel before, but not the normal panel that we usually have. So there you go.
Taylor Swift?
Maybe
Wow.
maybe AI Taylor Swift.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Maybe AI nude Taylor Swift. No.
Yes. EVA, I didn't even make that joke. EVA unit says in 10 and says, aside from casting of its 7 sisters, I still say live action TLM 23 successfully honored original while fixing mistakes, errors. Isn't that what all remakes should be? Disney accidentally did this. Did it really successfully honor the original and fix mistakes? Now, I haven't seen The Little Mermaid yet, but everything I've heard wasn't quite so much, but I guess without seeing it, I can't.
Well, I've heard a
Yeah.
lot of people that did like it. I don't know that it fixed any mistakes.
That's what I
or
mean.
errors.
Yeah.
I mean that I think that depends quite a lot on.
I didn't know the original had mistakes or errors.
No, exactly, because that means that now you have to be in a position where you consider this was a mistake when added with the original, and I think that's a relatively tall order, and it depends on what you consider to be an error in the first place. So that to me seems like a more subjective evaluation. But I know that a lot of people did find a lot to like in that movie, and if so, good. Do not let anyone take that away from you, no matter how. Even if we hate on it, if you find something to like in it, that's your subjective opinion, and you are fully entitled to it. So I'm glad anyone liked it, or for those that did like it.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know about the fixing mistakes.
One exception to that is Masters of the Universe Revelation Season 1 Part 1. You're not allowed to like that, and if you do, you're wrong. But, yeah.
Yeah, no. Pilgrim Media sends in 5. It says, if you're disciplined, you have to let them loose to produce. Yes. Yeah. Tennille sends in another $2. Thank you so much, Tennille, and says, yay, thanks for getting it to him in time. 6. Well, there's one for you, 6.
Just for you, Tennille.
Indeed. Aiken has been a member for 29 months. Holy crap, holy. And sends in a $2.99 Australian dollar reduced super chat. Says AI management could easily be configured DEI checklists.
Actually, would be
it
cool
could
if
be
you did that, because then AI wouldn't be so threatening.
Yeah, I don't know. Deadly Raver sends in 5 and says, I want Tron 3, but not under woke Disney. Let's just wait until around 2026 before they start on it, or we get literal NPCs in the movie. My issue isn't even that so much right now, Deadly Raver, although I would be concerned with that. My issue is this sounds like it should just be a TV show instead of a movie if you're going to set it more in the real world, right? Like, just if you can't make a Tron movie, then don't do it. Like, if you can't justify spending the kind of money on it, yeah.
And a Tron movie, it has to look a certain way, and that means it actually has to be expensive. I mean, there are many things you can get away with doing cheaper that they didn't do cheaper, but honestly, a Tron movie is not one of those things that kind of has to push the limit each and every time. That's the irony with the Tron franchise. Each of those movies were of the most expensive movies of their day, respectively. None of them really did all that well because of just that. I mean, they all did respectable business. They just didn't do good enough considering how expensive they were to make. This is the problem with Tron, but the moment you try to cut down on the budget and set it more in the real world, it's not Tron anymore. So yeah, let's see how they work around that.
That's my concern right there. See, because I actually compared it to Star Trek, right? Because Emma Watts, or whatever her name was, come out before she got shit canned over at Disney, or at Paramount. Sorry, not Disney. We were just talking about Disney. Over at Paramount, when she come out and said, this isn't why she got shit canned, but it's ironic that she did, and she was one of the people that was right when she come out and said, we cannot be spending $150-200 million on a Star Trek movie and expect it to be profitable. There's a ceiling on how much these movies make, so there should be a ceiling on how much these movies cost. Now, the difference between Star Trek and Tron is you can get away with doing Star Trek on the cheap a little bit easier than you can something like Tron, because there's ways around it. You can amortize things with Star Trek. Tron is not really set up that way. Like Andre's right. To be able to build the world of Tron and show us something new and different than we've seen the last two times, you kind of have to spend a little bit more money. Now, granted, you could get maybe somebody like a Gareth Edwards who with the effects side of things, where if you could figure out how you could do it for $80 million, that's a little bit more in the ballpark, right? But that's still, you're still taking a huge risk with Tron, because how many years removed now from the last one? Over a decade, or just about?
Yes, about a decade. The first one came out in 2009, I think.
Oh yeah, so actually more closer to 15 years, right? So we'll be getting to a point here sooner or later.
No, it has to be after that. So 2012 started?
I was gonna say, it sounded more like 2012. I think it was 11. Maybe I'm wrong, but look it up. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm doing so right now. 2010. Yeah. 1 year, none of us said. 2010.
I know. I was just thinking it wasn't 2010. So here we are, nearly 15 years out. In 2010, well, that was almost actually, 30 years out from the last one.
So out will be like 16, 17 years out.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. We're kind of getting near this. Like, it was 3 decades, but we'll be almost 2 decades out.
It's going to be a compatible. By the time it comes out, it'll be a compatible time frame. Well, it will have been a longer time frame from the first to the second Tron than from the second to the third, but it won't have been much longer.
That's what I was trying to say, because the first one was 82 to 2010, and then now we're looking at 2010 to 2015, 25 at least. But yeah, if not more. Well, they're filming, so it'll be 2025. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird. We'll see. Maybe this time will be the time, but I just don't know. And then we've got Terrace Blackburn, who sends in €60 and says, Wax Fang for new Tron's original soundtrack. We need more The Majestic. Yeah, it's a name I've heard tossed about here and there, maybe. Yeah. Sonic Times 2 sends in $2 and says, check out the Ghostbuster International trailer. It's wild. Oh, yeah, somebody said there's something, and I tried finding it earlier, but I couldn't.
Sony does this. I mean, they do very often release different trailers internationally.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. I'm going to have to look for it.
Yeah.
Because I guess you get to see some of their new equipment in one of the international trailers.
Well, so I'm sure you can talk about it.
So maybe Paul would have liked that one better.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be like, oh, I got all my gear porn in this one. Yeah.
And moving on. We got to Neil89, who says for $2 an Ultimate Toast edition. Ultimate Toast. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
When Ultimate just doesn't suffice. He also says for $5. Wait, friendship employee? I thought Tom was a captain that developed Stockholm Syndrome following a Viking raid. Who knew? Well, that's what he is, so don't tell him. So
that's not that inaccurate, actually. Yeah. No. He tricked me onto the boat with candy. It's the fucking truth.
Yeah, well, you should have learned by now. You've got to eat less. You see what that got you.
See?
Pete and Kat says for £5. I just found a tenner down the side of the couch. You can have half. And remember, sharing is caring. Oh, that's
awesome.
That's nice.
Thank you. And we're also glad that you found or were able to keep that $5 for yourself and just benefit all around. Everyone wins. So it's all
I don't know why, but that reminds me of the time that Homer found a peanut in the couch and he was so excited.
Yeah, and on that note, since that's where your mind instantly went, Paulie says, "Work out, Tom." Yeah, we can't go around thinking
peanuts are good for you.
Filling peanuts in the
not if they're covered with toffee.
Peanuts are not diet food. That's some bullshit right there. Cooking vegetable oil, you're better off not having them.
That may be true.
Nature, but the oil, or rather the toxin that they're rolled in, because vegetable oil, that's some bullshit that you shouldn't be eating, you shouldn't be ingesting. Really, you should only have like one kind of oil that put in your body, and that's olive oil. Vegetable oil.
I usually do use
stay the hell away from it.
If I use any oil, yeah.
Midnight Edge health advice right there. Oh, and when I say olive oil, it has to be the extra virgin kind, because if it's not, it's the same shit as all other vegetable oil that you'd be better off not having.
Extra virgin. Snickers.
It's
real. Paulie also says
when it says extra virgin olive oil, all that means is olive oil without all the additional additives and shit that you don't really need.
Oh, and then he has to show up here too.
Paulie!
Hey, Paulie. To which then you can say the final one here as well.
Yeah. I do say it all with love, Tom.
Yeah.
I
But
appreciate it.
here's what I want you to do, man. Okay, Tom?
Mm.
I want you to do one thing this week.
Mm.
That's it. And that one thing could be, I'm going to walk 10 minutes a day. I'm going to do some sort of exercise. One exercise every
I
day.
jazzercise for like 2 minutes today.
Well,
Liar.
Do it
increase that to
tomorrow.
10 and consider it an order.
Oh, I knew.
Well,
I do. I get up during the show sometimes and I run around. That's when you guys are like, Tom.
Yeah, I don't want to jump on Tom too much. Too late. But yeah, just one thing, and then just drink water every day. Come on, man. Come on.
I try.
And actually,
Doing my
and don't
best.
listen to Culture Casino and go on streams with him. You need to manage your time.
He never shows up to my streams.
So
He was here today.
No, I mean my on Midnight Edge After Dark streams.
Well, he manages his time.
He manages to avoid me unless it's on here. But then he gripes if I'm not right there for Mr. H's stream or his streams. But yeah. Anyway, that's another conversation.
it's all connected. It's all
Culture some shit.
right, Andre. It's all
Wait,
connected.
what?
Circle of life.
Oh,
Naked pole dancing to Donna What? Do we have to do it naked? I don't think you want to see that, Mikey.
Wow.
Well, then you definitely need to lose weight first. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He likes Donna Summer. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking
I love
of,
that.
I'm just going to share something that Paul will be happy with, which is just give me 1 second here.
Time's up.
Time's up. I'm gonna split. I'm gonna go live in a few minutes. I'm just getting
All
ready.
right. So head on over to Paulie's stream after this, I guess. And
What are you going to talk about, Paulie?
what are you going to talk about, Paulie?
You know what? We're having a guest, and she's on that James Marsden comedy called Jury Duty, and it is hilarious. I got to see the whole thing this weekend. She's one of the actors in it. It's where they have a fake trial, fake judge. Everyone's fake as far as actors, except for one man. And he thinks it's the real deal for the entire season.
So it's like Joe
Oh,
Schmo,
wow.
but it's set up during a trial.
It's Joe Schmo set up during a trial. And she
Okay.
was one of the actors in it. It is hilarious. And Marsden plays himself.
So it's like a reality game show?
Yeah, I see. it.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Yeah. So Maria Russell will be on Latino Slant in about a half hour. Come on by.
Cool.
Excellent. Yeah, do that.
I love you, Tom.
Love you too, brother.
Bye.
Bye,
ya.
Paulie.
All right. And with that, I think we're caught up on everything. Unless Jay had anything for us. Did you have anything for us, Jay? Guess not. All right.
I only now noticed that Jay has a Tron.
He does.
Tron
I'm jelly.
arcade board
Arcade.
in the background there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if One Up made that one or somebody else did, but yeah. Yeah, Sadie, I'm sure it's a squirrel, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right,
So
kids. Go
We
ahead.
had a super chat or a member chat come in earlier from Stone Racket, I believe, who said that there's a member stream this weekend. Is that true, Andre?
Is there? As first I hear about it. Well, we'll see if we are able to produce one this.
We
this
do
week.
need to have one. We're
So we'll get back to exact date, but it will be soon, very
Okay.
soon, probably inside of the week.
I know you had mentioned one of these weekends not too long ago.
Yeah.
It is one of those weekends now.
It is one of
So,
those
yeah.
weekends, so probably it's going to be one of these weekends.
All right. So
probably
hopefully,
this weekend, but we'll get back. I have to be able to commit to a time. Can't do that right now in this second, but we will get back to it.
all right. And with that, as you always say,
It's time for toxic femininity later tonight. So be sure
I
to check
think
that
so. I'm not
out.
100% sure yet.
Well, be on the lookout for it. If not, be ready for the videos to drop tomorrow. This stream actually is going to stay up and it's going to be edited down a little bit. Clips from it is going to be in Midnight Edge Live archives, where you will also find the full uncut stream in addition to all the other streams, because now I'm getting around to it. And with that, it's time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.